Good evening, and welcome to the regular school board meeting for Romulus Community Schools. Today is Monday, May 22nd, 2023. We have call to order at 6:02. Roll call, please.
Davis,
Here.
Laster,
Present.
Nard,
Here.
Evans. Present. Piles, present. McCarthy. Here. Wester.
Present.
We have quorum.
We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move that the Board of Education accepts the meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education accept as amended to add approval of the minutes from May 8th for our closed meeting. It's in our board packet, but not on the agenda.
Support. So the motion was amended to add the May 8th closed session meetings. It was made by Pyle, supported by Wester.
And,
Call vote.
well, I'm sorry, and also to move the newly created positions and approval of the union contracts from the consent agenda to report of the Human Resources Director.
Support.
The motion to move approval of the personnel actions as submitted by Human Resources Director Kevin Brock and the approval of union contracts from the consent agenda to report of the HR Director. And that was moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. So on the motion to add the approval of the closed meeting minutes on May 8th, Piles, yes. Wester,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Motion carries. The motion to move the approval of newly created positions and approval of union contracts moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Piles, yes. Kennard.
Yes.
Davis.
No.
Evans.
Yes.
Laster.
No.
McCarthy.
No.
Wester.
No.
Okay, so how do we do this then, since the consent agenda is considered routine in nature, and these things are not? So does that mean that we won't be acting on these tonight?
We're going to vote on the consent agenda
Right,
presented.
right, but the consent agenda is for items that are routine in nature, and if these items which are not routine in nature are not part of a consent agenda, so if we do not move them to part of the agenda, since they are not consent agenda items, that means they cannot be acted on. So can we recall this? By definition, matters listed on the consent agenda are considered routine in nature. Contract, approval of union contracts and approval of newly created positions are not routine in nature. So I ask that the board reconsider so that we can act on these items tonight.
I've never heard that. Mr. Brock?
Consent agenda becomes routine in nature.
Thank you.
So items on the consent agenda are routine in nature. Therefore, by what you said, Mr. Brock, anything presented to the board could be a consent agenda item, and we would not have to meet, ever.
They said they may be considered routine once they've been
So, Madam Chair, I have a question for the HR director, because you stated you're an experienced HR director with many decades of experience. In all your time as an HR director in your previous district, did the Board of Education ever approve union contracts on a consent agenda? I'm just asking, because this, yeah, well, this is not appropriate.
Well, I have an issue with the fact that it's $1.6 million in salaries for 1 year. You're right, we didn't because it's for students.
Madam Chair, I just respectfully
I'm
ask.
getting ready to answer, please, thank you. So what you're saying is, we want this moved up under the report of the HR director so that you can ask him some questions on it, and then we vote, correct?
Questions or not, I ask that we follow protocol. This is not routine in nature.
I'm asking you that for clarity, because like I said, I've never heard this. And you really could have spoken to me about this prior to coming to the table, about being blindsided.
Okay.
We've stated this before.
Right,
So if you want to call the roll again, call it again.
okay. Madam President, the definition of consent agenda,
I have a master's degree. I understand what a definition is. I'm asking you now to recall the roll call vote if that's what you want to do.
Point of order.
Please, thank you.
a
Recall the vote.
master's
Thank you.
degree has nothing to do with it.
I know what a definition
And
is.
point of order,
Okay, the motion is move that the personnel actions as submitted by Human Resources Director Kevin Brock of the approval of the newly created positions as presented and approval of union contracts be moved to report of HR Director on the agenda. So that, yes, we can get answers to questions that have been asked.
Calling the vote again, so I asked you
Okay,
to call a roll
I'm-
call vote. Thank
I'm
you.
restating the motion.
I asked you to call a roll call vote.
Point of
without
order.
Without the discussion.
we are supposed to be working together with respect,
With
and
respect.
talking back and forth is not
Please call the vote,
appropriate.
please.
Madam President, we have submitted questions that haven't been answered. We've asked for financial documentation that hasn't been provided. We do
No
not know.
discussion at this point. I understood, you recalled it, so can you please call the vote and we can move forward? And we can have questions answered at that point by Mr. Brock up under the report of the HR director. Thank you.
So we will have questions answered? Is that what you're saying?
You always ask questions when something, we're going to vote. We ask for discussion.
Okay, so Mr. Brock is not on this agenda.
You're asking us to move that for report of the HR director, correct?
Yes.
That's what we're voting for, to move that to the report of HR director.
So we'll add an HR director
We will
section.
add the HR director section.
And if the motion fails, this board is fine with approving a contract we don't know the cost of.
I-
I'm just saying, you know that questions were
And
submitted.
I know questions were submitted midday when I'm at work,
Oh, no.
So those I'm
No,
not
they
sure of.
date back to November 28th, Madam President.
That was prior to, but can we go ahead? We're going to add that section and move on and do the discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Piles, yes. Kennard.
Yes.
Laster.
No.
Davis.
No.
Evans.
Yes.
McCarthy.
No.
Wester.
We'll go yes, so we can move under the report of the HR director.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Next, we have our staff appreciation and recognition, retirement recognition. Dr. Edmondson.
Madam President, can I just make sure that we are live streaming? As according to the agenda?
That needs to be struck again.
I don't think so.
We need to
That should
strike.
have been struck.
It needs to be stricken like last, and have the proper wording up top.
I'm sorry.
We needed to strike that it was being live stream.
Okay. So we will need a motion to amend the agenda that was just accepted. Madam President, if I may make a request before we vote on this, if our meetings are not going to be live streamed, if we could just in the future have that stricken from all agendas or make a decision as a board.
I think it was an oversight because we mentioned it at the
Okay.
last meeting.
So
We did.
move that the Board of Education amend the agenda as adopted to strike the language.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam
I'm sorry.
Secretary,
May-
but I can't hear with conversation going on in the audience. Thank you.
Okay. I move that the Board of Education amend the agenda as adopted to remove the language that the YouTube live streaming of the meeting, link posted on the district website, District Board of Education. It will require a 2/3 vote.
Support.
Discussion.
I truly don't understand why our community is not able to watch the video, watch the meetings. We've been doing live stream for a year, 2 years since COVID, and now all of a sudden we are not doing them. And the board isn't the one that's making the decision, it appears. So I just have a concern why we're not, because our taxpayers and our students deserve the ability to watch meetings that we've been doing for 2 years.
Trustee Evans.
Madam President, I know that, I know that our community has valued being able to watch our meetings as they're streamed. I also understand the concerns of us acting, of us not wanting to project negativity. As we've discussed, when we are informed and are able to ask questions ahead of time, we come up and we actually have very good meetings. So I know I have received questions about calling into question the board being disingenuous in being transparent because of our lack of streaming. So I would just ask that going forward, if there is a way that we can be informed and work together and still be transparent and professional up here, that we strive to do that.
Duly noted. Roll call vote?
Hiles. No. Wester,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
Evans,
I'm sorry, no.
Kennard,
No.
McCarthy.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Did Darcet, did,
Passes.
it
No.
passes.
It requires a two-thirds vote.
So it failed for us to remove the verbiage on here.
Right,
Okay.
so we need to live stream the meeting and be professional, and, because the point of this is to be transparent and be mindful of our words, all of us, before we say them.
So I made the decision, call it unilateral if you'd like to. I made the decision as the superintendent. This isn't an issue of transparency, and if it is, it has nothing to do with me not being transparent, I can tell you that. This is about how we conduct ourselves, how we're perceived across the state of Michigan. Okay? In my field, and this is my field that I've given 30-plus years to, when we go around the state, people talk about Romulus. Now, you can disagree all you want. I'm just giving you facts. And it's never positive. And it's not about the superintendent. It's never about who's sitting in the chair. It's about the conduct of our Board of Education. That doesn't feel good when I'm going around, and maybe you're going around, I don't know. But it doesn't feel good when people laugh at your district, talk about the number of lawsuits that you have, the rudeness at the table, all of those things. And I wasn't even here for 12 months. I still heard it. I said last week, and I still am a firm believer, until we can show that we can be, I mean, even if kids are looking, it needs to be positive. It's not positive. It's not about, oh, somebody didn't give you something in the agenda. It's so much blame at the table all the time. And it's just, it's exhausting. So, I remember a time where people weren't even allowed to give public comment from home. And now this is an issue, that this has become the new issue. There's always an issue at the table, always. And at some point, I thought that at some point we would agree, like, we're not ready. We're just not ready. Everybody says they love the district. If you love the district, I firmly would believe that we'd say, let's hold up, or let's figure out how to conduct business. Okay, this isn't an indictment on individuals, not at all. It's just what it is in the state of Michigan. All you have to do is ask anybody. But I think another school district actually has replaced us finally. But it's just not a positive. And yes, I didn't even see that on there, but I made that decision. I said, listen, if I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations, and this is a decision that I believe is in the best interest of our school, of our district. Board thinks otherwise, that's fine. And hopefully we can get some things together. I would hope. We're at retirements.
Yes.
Sorry. So we have a number of people retiring. They've spent a good number of years servicing this district, and we have names. But as I said before, I hope that we can do something a little bit different. I have somebody working on an appropriate going away gift as opposed to the glass. I think we had glass, I forgot what you call those. Glass plaques. And Paula's not here, how fitting. But we're working on that. But, if we look here, I think we all may know some of these folks. Lynn Moore is an administrative assistant at the middle school. Wonderful. And I, for lack of a better term, I adore Lynn. I've really appreciated her. She's been very supportive not only of the district in her, I believe, 30 years. I'm not sure exactly because I don't have it here. But she lives in the community, and she's an adamant supporter of the district, and she has given ample amount of time and dedication to our district. So, we're pleased to see her go off in the way that she would want to go. But for me, I told her it's very disappointing because we've done a lot of work in the middle school, and she recognized that. But she said, it's time. And you can't argue with somebody who's given that many amount of time and saying it's time. Dan McCabe, on the other hand, I don't have a personal relationship with him. I know that he is the history teacher at the school district and the boys and girls basketball coach, as well as former golf. I don't believe it's current golf. I haven't had, like I said, the experiences of working with him, but I know that he's respected for his work. And again, in the middle school, he's given a number of years, I would guess 30 plus. And, someone else who's decided it's time. I think when some of you are retired here, you know when it's time. You just know. You can feel it. So another loss, Paula Gutzman. This one's definitely near and dear to my heart because we've worked together in 2 districts. But some things have happened in her life where she feels like it's best. She has a family too, and she's like, it's time for me to go. It's rather sudden. I didn't expect it, but it is what it is. I'm really, really sad to see her go. I'm in good hands now, and I will be good hands in the future. But definitely a loss. I think Paula has been the consummate professional for us at the board. She's certainly made sure that we don't have the problems that recently we've been having because we have different people doing different things, but has really put her best forward to make certain that the board was treated properly and with respect and dignity. And she always made certain that she had our information readily available and was always available to take our request. So that's a tough one for me. Equally as tough now is Roxanne Kucharski, who's she has 29 days left. She won't count today, so that's 28. She has 28 days. I knew Roxanne previously, and she's serving as the interim director of technology, and she's been just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I didn't have a relationship with her prior. I knew of her. I worked side by side, shall we say, when it came to negotiations. But I've really come to respect Roxanne. I really appreciate everything that you have done for this district. Anytime that I've ever asked for anything, it's been very, very professional and met with great, dedication. I mean, your dedication to the district. So we're sad. I love seeing you at the Monday meetings and how long your reports are. It's just, and that's, yes, they're all of 10 seconds, maybe 15. But you have been valiant. I know when Mr. Cooper left, you've taken over, and you've done a great job. And I know that the board can appreciate the work that you have done for us as well as the community. How you have served our district valiantly, and you've always, done so with a professional mindset and with a positive attitude. So I'm going to miss you, and I know I've said that to you before, and I really respect you and the work that you've done. So thank you so much. I think everybody deserves a hand, though they're not here, but their dedication to the district. I know Roxanne said she doesn't have to come and pick anything up. She's not doing all that, but we'll certainly have something for you that we want you to have in your house for the level of service and dedication you have given to our community.
Dr. Edmondson, did you say how long Lynn Moore had been here?
I believe it's 30-plus years.
I think she said that when she spoke,
Yeah.
when we hired
And I have
Mr.
spoken with her, but, I don't, when people send something to me, they don't say, I've done 33 years and 2, but I know it was over 30 years, and I tried to convince her to
And
stay.
Mr. McCabe, you said over 30 years, and Roxanne at over 27, nearly 30.
Only?
So we're losing these are, quite dedicated employees to our district. Almost 100 years between them.
And Paula, too.
Yeah,
A
and
number of
Paula,
years.
who's,
She's been
yeah.
an administrative assistant for a good 20-something years.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of bittersweet. I certainly hope that you're leaving when you feel that the district is in better shape or headed in the right direction. So, again, thank you. And Ms. Secretary Powell said it, that's a lot of years that we're losing. So, you'll be missed and can't be replaced, but we'll get somebody to fill your shoes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone has any sheets where they wanted to speak, if you can turn them in here to Board of Education welcomes audience participation at its meetings. These guidelines, which are based on the Board of Education bylaws and policies, are intended to facilitate an orderly conduct of the public meeting portion of the Board of Education meetings. The district encourages parents, students, and others to resolve issues at the building level whenever possible with the teacher or building principal or assistant principal. Issues not resolved at the building level may be addressed to the appropriate central office administrator and then, if necessary, to the superintendent. The Board of Education discourages parents, students, and others from addressing the Board of Education on issues that may not, may not have been processed in this fashion, and will in such cases direct the persons addressing the board to the appropriate administrator. Persons wishing to address the Board of Education must complete the public comment form. The board president at that time will recognize speakers. We limit our comments to 3 minutes. And do we have anyone?
Kim Glenn.
Ms. Glenn, thank you. Hello. Hello. Yeah, turn it on.
Are right. It is kind of sad when you watch, I mean, you are right. It is sad. I've watched them on TV for a long time, but the sad part is, I mean, I don't think you guys realize, like, the facial expressions and everything, you can see that. And it seems like when certain people ask questions, everybody's face goes a certain way. And even if it's a legitimate question, you don't really listen because you're already set in your mind, oh, here they go again. And I think that's quite unfair. And I think the harassment and the bullying, and that's the way I feel that it is. And it seems like it's not just here, it's in the room. Because I sat the last meeting and felt like somebody was trying to intimidate me by turning around, making comments. And I just think that that's sad. And I think as a community that we should be better. But the question that I do have is, with the STEM Academy being geared towards the sixth grade students, how are we assuring that equitable education across the board is being met? And what's being implemented to ensure that all students, not just the sixth graders, have access to high-quality opportunities, resources, technology, such as the sixth graders that the STEM program that they talked about in the last meeting? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn. There's no further comments. Our next agenda item is the consent agenda. Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If a member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. A is approval of the minutes of the Board of Education, April 24th, 23, May 8th, regular meeting, May 8th, closed session, May 1st, special meeting. B, approval of the bills for payment as submitted by Business Manager Sarah Khan in the amount of $1,847,532.38. Move that the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
It's a motion by Wester, supported by Davis. Is there any discussion?
Madam President, I have one question about the bills for payment, if that could be removed, please.
So approve the consent agenda as amended to remove B, the bills for payment, and move them to first item under the superintendent.
Still support, David?
Support.
Okay.
Been motion by Wester, supported by Kennard. Roll call vote.
Kennard,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Laster,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
motion carries.
Report of the superintendent. Our first item are the bills for payment for discussion.
Yes, and my only question was, there was a payment on there, check number 229088, for May 18th, 2023. It's for a vendor number is 48384, and it's just made out to a first name, a Jennifer. So I was just asking, since that's, just bringing that to attention, so if that was already sent out, just for records and as we move forward for his history.
Can
And I
get
just
check
saw
number
that.
again? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't write it.
I'll give this to you, because I just saw it as I was coming in. So just as we're going through and forward, if, for historical purposes, that we just go back and document that. And check there's a vendor number, so we just check the vendor and make sure that we have first, last name, and all the vendor, whatever's required for vendors with that in our files. But I move that the Board of Education approve the bills for payment as submitted by Sarah Khan in the amount of $1,847,532.38.
Support.
Motion by Piles, supported by Davis. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Piles, yes. Davis?
Yes.
Kennard?
Yes.
Laster?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Dr. Edmondson, report of superintendent.
Thank you. First of all, Ms. Glenn, thank you, because my wife has to remind me about myself when she watches. She's like, you go flat. But I'm glad that you said that. I take it personally. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I thank you for that reminder, because I needed that right now. So thank you so much for saying that, and noted. All right, so I was just thinking, like, I love this job. I do. I absolutely love this job, and it's never going to be perfect. It just doesn't work that way. So that's for everybody. I'm having a great time. I've had a wonderful time being back since February 1st. I'm proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish. I'm looking forward to making some improvements naturally for the district, as well as, when it requires me to do some things differently, then that I'm open to that. I certainly think a lot that, the seven of us we got to be better, but we've heard that before. It has to be a personal decision to be better. So I just hope that we are able to get to that point where all of us enjoy coming to our Monday board meetings. So just wanted to say that I'm very excited. So we have the FYI, which is the insurance coverage. Mr. Brock and I have been talking about that because it falls on his desk, my desk, and it fell on Mr. Garland's desk, all three of us. So every year you have insurance coverage that guards against lawsuits. And based on the last, I would say, 2 years, our coverage has now gone up. I sent it to the board. I think you know what that is. And we have to make some decisions about the coverages. We have an opportunity to try to get an insurance company to insure us back at the level in which they had before, but that's going to be an additional amount of money. At this point, when we asked, it's looking at if we want to increase our coverage from $10 million, or from $1 million, because it went down, as you know, from $1 million to back up to $10 million, we're looking at roughly, and this is an estimate, between $30,000 and $40,000 just for that rider, and that doesn't include, or $50,000. Oh, I thought it was 10 million. Okay, $5 million. So that would have to go up. It's the board to discuss this. I hope that we're able to stop the lawsuits that come through, but the fact is that we had them. And just like anything else, when you file a claim, that your premiums go up. So our premium has now moved up for next year. They'd like a response from us by June 1st, but I certainly wanted to hear how you all thought. If you wanted me to move forward with it, I will move forward, and we'll try to get get additional coverage. But we're looking at $30,000 to $40,000 for that additional coverage
Per year.
per year. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sure, you were.
Sorry, just a clarification on that. I reached out to our consultant today from Gallagher, and it's $40,000 to $50,000 is the range for $5 million. He feels fairly confident that we can get an additional $5 million of coverage. He's not so sure we can get an additional $10 million. If we are able to get the $10 million additional coverage, we're looking at $100,000 for an additional $10 million. And that has to be put out, I don't want to say put out for bid, but it goes out on the marketplace for other companies to underwrite the product if we're able to get the 10 million. He thinks we can get the 10 million, but he doesn't want to make any guarantees, but for sure, he feels very confident that we get the 5 million. And he's giving me a range, and none of these numbers, please don't hold me to that, because he said it's 40 to 50,000 for 5 million and roughly about 100,000 for 10 million additional dollars. Sorry, thank you.
Will this be through a different company than, okay, so then will we have another deductible then?
Good question, I don't have that answer. My guess is, well, I don't want to make a guess, because I don't know.
Right.
I know we have a deductible now.
Because we have a deductible for the coverage we have.
They're going to try, my understanding is they're going to try to get the additional coverage through who we have now, but he didn't want to make any guarantees. He doesn't think the current company will give us additional insurance.
It's Great American Insurance Company.
So I have a.
So I'm sorry, if I may ask one more question. So since this coverage, we have to renew and decide what we want by July 1, is it
It was
possible?
June, I think it was June 1. June 1.
I thought this said July 1.
It says June. So we need to let them know by
That's
June.
the email.
It's July 1st, according, due to the recent educators' legal liability claim experience.
Right.
At your district, effective July 1, 2023, your district's liability coverage.
But our application has to be in by June 1st.
Oh,
Application is
Where-
due by
oh,
June
Oh,
1st.
does it have that?
Yeah,
Is that in here?
It's in the subject line of that
In the
email.
subject line, right above it.
okay, return by
see it?
6/1,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So are we able to get some quotes from them so that we know, so that we're not making a decision based on so many unknowns?
So that's what the application is, due by June 1st. We have to apply to put it out on the market.
Okay,
I will get quotes after we make the application.
okay.
Okay, can I? So I sent an email, and I know it was at a later time, but, and I know that there was many lawsuits. However, we have, and somebody tell me if I'm speaking when I shouldn't say what I'm saying, okay? I don't want to do any OMA or violate any laws. I know that many cases, it was settled, and the insurance company didn't pay. I know in many cases, we provided information to attorneys that weren't, we provided documentation that wasn't necessarily submitted during and used during the lawsuits. And I asked for billable hours by the attorneys, because that is really where their cost comes in. Okay, we had a deductible, and we know that, but how much did the attorneys actually cost us? Then how much did it cost us, for settlements and payouts? And how much did it really cost the insurance company for settlements and payouts? Because, to be honest with you, the insurance company hasn't paid but a minimum of those settlements. So I'm really confused, and like I said, I know there were several, I shouldn't say many, there were several lawsuits that the district was involved in. However, to pay $40,000 to $50,000 a year for someone to come back to sue us, we're covering for them, they're not covering for us, okay? And we need, as a board, as a district, as an HR department, as a superintendent, as a school board, as department heads, we need to act more professional, make sure that our documentation is such that we don't get sued.
Right.
And so to say $40,000 to $50,000 to cover $5 million so that someone wants to come back and sue us for $5 million, I'm not comfortable with that. And to say, oh, well, we can spend 100 million so they can get 10 mil, or 100,000 so they can get 10 million, that is not good business. We need to act smarter in how we hire, how we evaluate, how we terminate contracts versus just individuals. We need to be smarter in what we are doing as a district, as a whole. That's my thought process. But I would really like to see the information from the insurance company, why they feel that they have why they feel that we are such a cost factor to them.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. I can go from personal experience of having a house fire, and you filed the claim, this was beyond your control, they didn't pay, even a car accident, you pay your deductible because you filed this claim. Every time you file a claim and say, hey, my window was broken, they're shooting the rates up. And it's really, I mean, that's everybody. I'm not just saying here, and I do understand your question, because it is, we have to pay so much money. But what about the claims and the companies they have that you don't pay out anything? It does. It begs you to ask the question, where's the money at? Because they're lining their pockets, and we, as the little person, we get hit with that fee.
Well,
So
was-
I understand
yeah.
your questions, and I hope we can get that info that you
It'd
were
be
requesting, to
very
see
informative to the board,
what was actually paid out.
what we paid out, what they have paid out, and what type of negative status they're in for our service.
So,
Thank you, yeah.
and Madam President, I know that of all the lawsuits we've had, our rates and our deductibles are going to go up. That's unavoidable. But to Ms. Evans' questions that were submitted, to know how much we've paid out in lawsuits, we currently, even under the new plan, that our deductible's going to go up, but we're still insured for the $1 million worth of coverage, and none of our lawsuits have paid out near anything that high.
Thank you.
So I'd like to, well, put the motion on the floor. I'd move that the Board of Education approves the superintendent or his designee to secure quotes for additional coverage up to $10 million outside of Maisel and as an additional umbrella policy, and bring it back to the board for approval.
Is there support? Support. We have a motion by Piles, supported by Kennard. Can we roll call vote?
Piles? Yes. Kennard?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes,
Laster?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
can I ask a question? You amended the motion to read, bring it back to the board with the quotes?
Because this is a recommended motion, so
Okay.
yes.
So I'm going to add to that. Trustee Evans, I got your email today because Ms. Bells told me. So I don't know how, you must have sent it, right after I sent your email, you must have sent it maybe an hour later. I don't know, on Sunday. I just missed it. So I was letting you know it wasn't, I just
Probably
missed
because
it.
that's when I work on the board stuff.
I totally missed it.
That's fine,
But
I know, and like I said, it's a lot of work.
Oh, I started-
And-
yeah.
And it's a lot of work, but again,
Yeah, listen. So, I mean, I'm getting my energy is flowing back. I got that, and I was excited to answer that. And I was saying, I had written to you, and I still have it in my queue. I'm about to send it out. But I said, that's a lot, that's an arduous task because it involves so many people. And you had put that, and I was like, I wouldn't even hear for some of these. But I counted 7, just from the time I was here till now, that's 7. I started thinking about what they were. We've had a due process. We've had 3 superintendents. We've had a director of special services. We've had a student at Barth, and I think, and a consultant. 7. And, you know, it's going to catch up to you. It just catches up to you like anything else. It's not even personal. I thought your questions were great. I believe that we were FOIA'd maybe 2 months ago, and when I read it, it was $660,000 in attorney fees. That I know for a fact. I memorialized that in my own mind. $660,000 in attorney fees.
we paid 600 and,
The district paid $660,000.
Yeah.
And Ms. Bales is the one, I'm sorry to call you out, but you had FOIA'd, and I read it. And I was, first of all, I was thankful that you did, but I was in shock.
Yeah.
I am too, because
shock.
it doesn't appear to have those large payments.
why we should
And
see that,
but
yeah.
then, as you accumulate,
add 'em.
right.
But
right.
that wasn't just, so, just for point of discussion, that's not just lawsuits, that's going to them, asking them questions and all the things that have happened, but it was $660,000. And that's something Ms. Khan and I talked about, that you just don't budget for that. You don't budget for that type of money, and that was just for that, and not payouts. I don't know the payouts, I wasn't there for it, but I made a call to an attorney, and he said he will give it to me because this is facts, that Cooney Plunkett was responsible for litigation, and Eric Delaporte was responsible for settlement agreements. Fact, I called on that, and when we try now to reach Eric Delaporte, he doesn't respond. So that's a really tough one for me. Like, I have to go to another attorney to get that information, whatever it is. But I am just as, I don't want to say excited. I'll say I'm just as intrigued by when you sent that to me, but you had actually put billable hours for insurance company, but it was attorneys. I knew what you meant on that. So I will get that. It just takes time, and all of the lawsuits are not about money. Many of them are, but a due process one is really not about money, but if they could try to get some, I'm sure they would. I do have a concern that I think $1 million is too low. I mean, just as a superintendent, if you get sent out, you're going to hit them for more than $1 million. You're coming for more than $1 million. So it's in the board's best interest to make sure, because like you said, there are things that happen, and there are things that happen and are said by board members that put us in those situations, or decisions that boards make. I was just shocked, like, honestly, that you didn't know about the settlement, because you can't settle without board approval. So, the
There
fact
were
that you
several
didn't,
that- yeah,
somebody,
there were
like,
several that we didn't-
somebody
yeah.
somewhere, when mine, when you come back and you vote on it, like, how do you not know? And that's no blame. I'm like, were you not informed? And I guess you weren't by you sending me that. I'm like, you couldn't have been informed.
There were some that we weren't informed of.
There were some that we were not informed of.
And in respect to the new board members, if I didn't know, they sure didn't know, and this has been going,
And I
right?
didn't know.
Right?
I knew some. I had heard, but I will get you that information because you wanted the amount too. I mean, I will get you everything that you have on that sheet.
Like I
just
said, I
asked,
know
could you
it's a
give me
lot of
till Friday?
information, but
Right.
I think this would help us moving forward. Like I said, we have to be smarter in our documentation, in our actions, in our evaluations. We have to be smarter. And to cost money just to be reactive, to me is, we don't have this kind of money to waste, really.
May I say something, Madam President? Yes, you can. Just from being on the board since January 9th, first board meeting, and sitting in on our first closed session, lawsuits, settlements, all of that, I do personally feel like you can be secure just in your home. You can put salt down, but if somebody wants to, we live in a litigious, like, people want to sue. So I feel like we need to be prepared, and Romulus has had such a bad track record. I feel like people come here just for a lawsuit. So I honestly agree with Dr. Edmiston. Yeah, it's financially looking at it, paying that money out is a lot, but we need the coverage because we see the situations we've been in just the first beginning of the year. I mean, since January, we've been dealing with lawsuits and settlements. That was the first thing on the agenda for our board meeting. So I just personally feel like looking at it, yes, a lot, but a smart business move is to be prepared, because if I was a homeowner, yeah, I'm gonna put my salt down, but if somebody wants to sue me, they can just come. I mean, I have aunties that just will go in the store to try to sue. So,
Don't have them come to the board meeting.
no, but I'm just saying.
Tell them don't
Slip
come
and
up here.
fall.
Don't
Come out of the district.
Tell
We
them
know
to
the
stay out of
people are
class.
out there.
Dr. Edmondson,
Thank
you.
did you say
Trustee
we had
Laster.
lawsuits that were settled we didn't know, or was it severance?
Settlements. Well, I don't know about, no, there was some settlements there.
Because if we
mean-
could have a closed session on that, because right now, I'm not aware of things.
No settlements.
I'm not aware of settlements that I didn't know about. So, yeah, if we
Yeah, I
could
don't.
please get that update.
Since this is, I mean, it's open and we're talking about it,
So we won't, but yeah,
I've
but
said
we
this
should all be on
before,
the
but,
same page.
but I'm going to also say this, just what you just said. You said we should all be on the same page. And I'm going to say this in my role. When an attorney, I'm not talking about a settlement. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. When an attorney gives you advice, you follow it. You follow it. Okay, nobody can assume that they know more than the attorney. That's the attorney's job, is to protect you. Protect you, protect me, protect us. Second guessing an attorney is not in your best interest, and that's for all of us. Okay, and it's not the elephant in the room. We all know I was one of them. I made certain that I followed my attorney's advice, everything he said, because if there's things that you do wrong, you pay for it. You're going to pay for it. So we just have to be aware of that. And I'm just going back to a former board member that said that to me here. Like, we need to pay attention and we need to listen as a board. I'm not sure if you were there. I think you had just come along, but we have to certainly as a board make sure that we pay attention. One thing that we didn't say, but you're aware, is our deductible has
Yes.
it's gone up 10 times.
Yeah.
10 times our deductible. So now we're really in, somebody sues us and there's any kind of payout, we got to pay $250,000 of district money that we aren't prepared to account for at this time.
Right.
So we just have to watch out. It's like I said when it came last week, I said, every time something happened to my car, I would call USAA and say, hey, something happened to my car. I didn't want anything from them. I just let them know. And they said, every time you call us, that counts as a claim. Whether we give you money or not, it is a claim. So I didn't know that, but I do know that now when I ran into my mailbox. Ran into my mailbox, scraped my car up. I said, well, I'm not going to call them. I'll just have to handle this myself. So, I said before, I'm very optimistic with the board. I'm very optimistic. I just want to make certain that we are doing those things in particular. I don't want to be sued. I know you don't want to be sued. The district doesn't want to be sued. But now it's real cash in deductibles. That's real cash that will hurt our district if we get even one. So I thank you. I will get you the information. Mr. Brock and I are working with that. We were finally able to get into the system to do it. I will come back. So here's the thing. Our next board meeting is after June 1st.
This is just an information, what I've requested. It's just a
Oh,
information.
no, I know what yours do, but
So
we
had
have
the quotes,
something,
that's
didn't
why
we
I said
just?
for a close, we'd have to do a.
Well,
a
I'm not talking
special.
about those settlements and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying
About the coverage.
you
Right,
gave
so
us,
the quotes, so that we could, just have those.
right,
That's
but
what
it's
he's
supposed to
saying
be
is
done by,
that
we're
we
supposed to
have
complete the
actually-
application by the
application
1st.
Put in on the 1st.
So I'm saying now our board meeting is after the 1st. Are you saying to go ahead and secure that? That's what it sounds like. Go ahead and secure it.
Yes.
And then I can give you an update on the 8th or whatever day that is.
Well, I think what we need to do in reality right now, and this is my thought, determine where we want to be. Do we want a $5 million? Do we want a $1 million? Or do we want a $10 million coverage? Because if we determine that, then you will shop for the best rate for that. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I think this board is, that's where I think we're going. And to say that, yeah, we need to bring it back, possibly the presentation of what was purchased or agreed on for the district is what you bring back. Debbie, what are you thinking?
Bill Garland he got the same email. The email actually went to him, and he forwarded it to me. So I didn't know, he and I didn't have the conversation of what they may have said to him. I don't know, but he's here.
I know it sounds like a lot of money, but every district near us has $11 million worth of coverage for a reason. And the reason is that one person can sue this entire board or a principal or anyone else for $5, $6, $7 million. At one time, no, I'm not going to bring that up.
Yeah.
A wrongful death could cost us
Yeah.
$10 million. So I would advise the board to let Mr. Brock and Dr. Edmondson to get us the quotes and then make that determination. But I would not. Yes, it is for protection. And if it's $50,000 and that's what we have to pay for a couple years, if it's $75,000, believe it is well worth it. We've had a lot of building issues and different things like that that have cost thousands and thousands, and we got money back, and I was so grateful. But board,
Okay,
protect
this covers
yourself,
buildings.
protect our administrators, our teachers, our kids. I mean, I've talked to other ones. They all have $10, $11 million worth of coverage.
Okay, so this will cover our buildings, okay.
Covers everything.
So I'd like to then make a motion.
No,
Oh,
it's, right, it's not property.
okay, he was talking about, because I
Mr.
can
Brock.
making a motion.
Sorry, just to your point, so June 1st application is for us to get quotes. That's all you all would be doing is giving us authorization to do the application so we can get quotes on the 5 million, get quotes on the 10 million, and bring it back to you.
Oh.
That's all we're doing. We're not purchasing anything. We wouldn't purchase anything without having that conversation with the board. So the
Because
June
that
1st
has
is
to be
just-
done by July 1st, the purchase.
So July 1st is our policy. Our $1 million policy has to be in effect July 1. If we don't meet the June 1st deadline for the application to go out to the market to get pricing, it just pushes that out further. So the June 1st deadline is for for the board to authorize us to go out for quotes, to get quotes back on the 5 million, and if a company will even quote the 10 million, to get that quote back as well. And then you all can make an informed decision on what you want to do.
At the next meeting then.
I don't know if it'll
But
be
no,
the
I'm
next
just
meeting,
saying though,
but
as an example, once it comes
at
back.
one of our next board meetings, it will be presented when the quotes come back.
Madam President, Mayor.
Yes.
And also, I would like to add to that, when you come back with the quotes, I would like to make a recommendation also that we have some information pertaining to what exactly can the district afford, with those quotes. And so we're looking at it all simultaneously, and we can handle it at that particular point in time until the coming back with another. It would be very helpful if we could get that along with it. What can we afford at whatever the amount, the quotes that you come back with?
Well, we'll be doing the budget. I mean, you present the next budget, so that'll have to be in there for sure. Something that we normally didn't have to do, but it is what it is. So thank you two gentlemen. Thank you to
Yes,
the board.
thank
If
you.
I can move on, maybe
And
light
then
my
this
own mood
motion
up.
is fine, then.
Am I still, are we good?
Yeah, thank you.
You have another
Okay.
FYI?
Of course I do. I figured I would give this to the board here, just so that you can see. This is about the branding that we have done. I'm going to stand up here. You need to stand up, but it's just the branding, that we do have done. I realized that two board members weren't here when we were doing all of the branding, when we took the vote. Two of you were not here, so you may not even know what all this is about, okay? Because a couple of statements that were made, and it would be, and I realized with the understanding that you weren't here for this. So we have a company that's been working with us, and his name is Michael Ellison, and I share it. You've seen him. Many of you have seen him. He's an Emmy Award-winning storyteller who's helping us reshape and redefine our district. Okay, I don't want to be the district from 20 years ago. I want to be the district now, who we are now, not who we were trying to recapture who we were 20 years ago. We need to be a new district. Things have changed in 20 years. So we've made a conscious effort to rebrand. Everywhere you see different signs, you see attention to these type of details. That's the crest. You'll only see, nobody's going to wear the crest except on a blazer and on a sweater vest. So it's not like everybody's going to wear that. And I'll say 99% of the people don't even know what it says after I put it out there over and over and over, but it's a crest. The crest is something that is it's like a family heirloom that you pass down. So everybody doesn't get to wear it. And I'm like, that's not everybody. That's for our district. It's a crest. So we've been intentional, and as you see there, you can see some of the things that I don't have it in front of me anymore.
Where's the copy at I gave you to look at?
Sure. Okay. So these are some of the things that we've committed to doing. It's funny in the district, you hear people or in the community, they spent this amount of money. Yeah, you're right, and it was worth every penny. If you get some outcomes that you want, if you change the trajectory of your district or the image of your district, that's why you do what you do. It costs money to make money in general, but it costs money to do these things. If we want something done at a high level, in some cases, we're just gonna have to pay. You don't have to pay to get it at a high level. So we hired this company, and he's been doing these things. What I have now, we have a new logo. We have the logo there. I think everybody has seen the logo. You know, and this is our new logo with attention to this. It was my thought that soon enough, that's gonna be, everybody's gonna know what that is. Everybody, I don't wanna say the state, but I can take a name down, we're gonna know what just the house part is. We have billboards that you have seen. Not once have I ever asked for enrollment. We don't, oh, thank you. Not once will you ever see me say it's an enrollment campaign. I'm not interested in doing that for our district. If you do things at a high level, the word gets out just like the word gets out with everything else. It will get out. So we have made a conscious effort, and I said there are people that are still attached to the old. Yeah, so me too. I'm attached to the old Philadelphia Eagle logo. But guess what? It's new Eagles. Okay, I have to move along. That was the old, this is the new. We have the old Romulus R. We don't have that anymore. We have this, and we were pretty intentional, and I don't want to rehash everything, but this is called Spartan. Spartan is the font. And we have, you see everything is going this way, essentially. And we were intentional on that because when you're moving this way, when you're moving forward, your hair or whatever it is, your tie moves that way. We were intentional about everything that we do and everything that we're trying to do. So this company is helping us do the new logo. We have, as I said, new crest, and he's funny, new crest and motto. Okay, people know what our motto is. I said it last night. Many of you got it. I added, tomorrow already started today. And tomorrow starts today. That's Romulus. That's who we are. We're working on today for things that we want to do tomorrow. Or as Miss Ursula said at the senior banquet,
Oh, my goodness.
she doesn't realize what she said. She spoke to everybody and said, our motto is, today starts tomorrow.
I was nervous. No one corrected me.
Today starts tomorrow. Today starts tomorrow. Makes no sense. It's,
Yes, it does. Right. You know, thank you, Jesse.
but it's tomorrow starts today. We have new campaign slogan. Okay, we have all of these good things that we have, and I have up. We're working on our website. Miss Roxanne has helped us with that. Working on our website and changing the design. I don't want to put it up there, but many of you've seen it. I walked into the high school the other day, and I was upset because we still have the old R and stuff, and I'm trying to work with everybody to understand that we're not using the old anymore. Okay, that doesn't mean that still doesn't exist. For a lot of people, it still does. But for those that are with us now, this is the Romulus. So we were intentional in working on branding and marketing. Our brand, we want everything to look the same. McDonald's, every time you go to McDonald's, it looks the same no matter what country you're in. The M is still the same. So our Romulus logos should all look the same. So we've been intentional. And Ms. Kucharski is going to I told her how we do this. She pulls up the slide, and I have to explain. And when we get to the pictures, she pulls up the pictures. I'm going to try to explain. But everything has been intentional. So if we look here, we want our basketball team. We have several iterations of things that they can use because you may not like this one and you like this one. That's fine. Okay, we're okay with that, but they're all going to be in the same vein. So we have this for basketball. We can also change that to football. We can change that to bowling. We can change that out, but we're letting everybody know. This is the font. Sorry, Miss Glenn there. This is the font that we're using, okay? This is the new Romulus, not the old stuff, okay? We want the new Romulus, so go ahead. Golf, changed it a little bit so you can see. So we have told all of the coaches, and I will share this with you because I always think of Trustee Ebbets. Did the kids work on it? They did. We had kids here from the sports, from the band. Well, nobody from the band, but it started with the band. But we had kids work on this and tell us what they liked. And what's funny is kids don't like what old people like. Things that I like, they didn't like. And I'm like, how do you not like that? That's the bomb. You're old, so I get it. So we have different things, and we wanted to make certain that things that maybe the coaches liked, we would keep what the coaches liked, and we want to keep what the kids like so that we have a combination. But don't be mistaken. Somebody changes that stuff, we're going to know because we branded it. Somebody tried to change the Burger King logo or McDonald's is easier, Amazon. Everybody's going to know that's not Amazon. So we want to make certain that everybody knows what this looks like. So we have different iterations, and we've worked long and hard on this. It looks simple, but it wasn't. Getting buy-in is hard. You know, when you say Eagle Country and somebody checks you and says Eagle Nation, guess what we did? We went and we changed it, but we didn't change the billboards, but we changed Eagle Nation. We listened. Okay, we had country, it says nation now. You have some of the ones with the wings. So our football team looked at some of these. On our football field, you will see this now, this part. On both sides, you're gonna see that. On the field, you'll see Romulus and Eagles on the end zones, but in the actual field, you'll see two of those, us. We want kids to be proud of that, us. And we're gonna drill it into them that eventually in 2 or 3 years, everybody's gonna know what that is. This is our newer, this came from Jessica's band. The band designed this, okay? Ha ha. Wah, wah. The band did this one, but see, these are the wings. We actually had some stars up there. There were like 5 stars, but I actually put the area code, 48174. It was hot. Okay, it was real hot when I had that up there. I'm just saying, but I got vetoed. So on this, you see the wings, the Romulus, and inside will be the sport or the activity. Can you pull up maybe robotics or bowling or something? Chess. That's what our chess one would look like. Marching band. I don't have to tell you. That's the last one. And we had some other ones in there, but we are making a conscious effort. And you know what? It's hard. It is very difficult to try to change logos because people are so connected to them. But as Mike Ellison said, nobody was connected to the cap and gown one. Nobody even mentioned that. So we worked hard to see what, you know, the eagle is what everybody is really attached to. And one of the things that I'm not going to do, but people keep saying to consider it, they're like, why aren't we all Eagles? That's what I deal with now. We have the Bears, the Jaguars, the Hale Creek Hawks, the Bulldogs, but we're still Eagles. Okay, we're still Eagles, and I'm not willing to even touch that one. That would be, as I always say, that's political suicide to touch that. So I would not touch that, but people are asking those things. So I wanted to just give you an idea of some of the things, some of the efforts. I had mentioned a commercial, and I know Trustee Evans asked me again. She's like, well, where are you getting it? That was part of the contract, was that, and I know you weren't here at that point, but we have commercial. We worked hard on it. I'm not going to unveil it now. It'd be silly to do that. But you will see it. You're not going to see it probably on Channel 7 or Channel 4, but we're pushing it out on Facebook, Instagram, and every other venue or social media outlet that we have. We've been working on, thank you, Roxanne, we have a photographer. And we have a photographer so that we can get clear images, not the ones where I take my iPhone and they're looking crazy, and then you put them up and they end up being the first page on your website. That's never going to happen. So what we did is, anytime there's an event, it's the principal's responsibility to make certain that our photographer has a week's notice so that he can attend. Okay, you'll see all of these are authentic pictures that we are putting on our website. So on our website, we're going to have gallery. We're going to have something that's called RCS Gallery. And you'll be able to get to that because parents love seeing pictures of their kids. Everybody loves seeing pictures, and themselves. Most of you, you'll see a picture with everybody else, you forget who they are. You're looking at whether you look good or not. I'm just saying, we all do it. We all do it. So we have pictures. These are authentic. We're in classrooms, okay, all the time. We are at dances. We are at graduations. We are going to be, the one with the marching band, I think many of you have seen that, how sharp that is. It is important. It is just as important, the images that you put out on your district, the images that you put out. For our board, I'm going to say it again, and I'll make sure it happens again. We've got to have professional pictures, because the minute that we do something crazier, then they're going to put your picture out there. And they usually go to your Facebook and grab the worst picture of you that exists, and we'll put that out there. So we want all of us and the principals, I want to have a professional picture so that when we are on the news for whatever reason, they get it better. And I hated the one that was on the news for me. I hated that picture, and I still hate that picture. So we don't have that anymore. But we have all of these, look at that, bags and stuff. I'm like, oh, whoa, y'all are wearing me out. But I'm very proud of this, and I want you to know this is all about marketing and branding. If we want to change the image of our district, not only the narrative here, but the narrative that we have in pictures. Where is it? RCS Gallery. So that's where you will go to the gallery to see all of these pet rallies, Amazon. You can see all of those. Roxanne has done an excellent job doing this. For all I have to do with Roxanne is just ask, and she gets it done, and I love that. These band pictures are very, very compelling. Very compelling. Very compelling. So we want our families to see this. We're going to continue to push this out in our community. You're not going to see a bad image because I'm actually responsible. I send the images and say, choose, or I'll send the images that I want. But I say, don't put a picture out of me looking crazy or anybody else because that's the thing that people will use against you when you're not looking sharp. They're going to put that one out there. So we are going to continue. We are working on a commercial this week with their actors. They're fifth grade actors from Romulus Community Schools that are going to be in this next commercial. And I have not seen the commercials yet. I've been working on it. We went to Detroit and we had Mr. Thompson there. We had me, Dr. Gardner, Mr. White, Mr. Niedermeyer, and Miss Krista Saylor, formerly James, and President Wester. We worked hard on this commercial that'll be coming out about the sixth grade model. We're also going to do some commercials that are just about Romulus Community Schools. So you'll be seeing all of those things. And I guarantee you'll be pleased because we're never going to put a product that doesn't make us look good and doesn't make the district look favorable. So I just wanted to give you an idea of the things, the marketing that we're doing, the intentionality of our brand. We will be selling shirts. Our website soon enough will have a link for parents and for staff. If you want to buy t-shirts, or you want to buy some kind of logo, you want to buy a piece of apparel and you want a specific logo on, now you know which logo you can do. There are several options for you to do. As long as you do those, they will be fine. Our new jackets will be coming in, our blazers. I don't know if we gave you the update, but the Sixth Grade Learning Institute is a sweater vest with our crest, and our STEAM is our black blazers. Our band is maroon blazers for our band, and the next goal is for our athletes, is that when they go to other school districts, that they're wearing a blazer too, because we want people to know what they're getting when we come, that we're going to look sharp, okay? One thing they won't beat us in is looking good, okay? So that'll be coming soon. People have asked me about money. The blazers are $70. Listen, we have the money to do these things. Sometimes if you want excellence, or you have to demonstrate it and you have to show that you're willing to purchase it. So we're not going to put that extra burden on some of our families. Just not going to do it when the school district can take general fund. And just in case you're wondering, like, well, where are we going to get that? I'll just share a couple of things. This week, I'm having a check delivered for $135,000 because we paid out on a lawsuit. We paid out, but that's what we get back for the. I don't know if it was our deductible. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to say no. So that's $135,000 coming back this week. Coming back to us this week. So we do have money to do some of these things, and as much as possible. Okay, I am responsible financially, and I will promise you all and you, I'm never going to do something to put us in the poorhouse or even close. Okay, I'm very calculated in the monies that we have and what I know, and I will continue to be financially a financial steward to put us in the right place and to continue to make our community look good. So if the board has any questions, I'm sorry I stood up, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to. With what? Are you giving away my secrets already? Yeah. So the goal is, as you know, our football field is being redesigned, and it should be done by the end of August. My goal is to have the entire community to show up, that we all show up at that field, and we get like either a drone or somebody to take a picture of our entire school community, which includes parents, all of us. It's going to take some time to do that, but I believe that we can certainly do that. Also, when I was talking about general fund, I want to thank Trustee Evans, too, for your doing the Burton deal. I think you were instrumental in that as well. We have finally sold it. We're waiting for a check now, but the attorney sent me something and said, we should be good now. We're good. You should be expecting that to be deposited into your account. I know you put a lot of work into that, so I want to thank you publicly for doing that. Merriman's next. Okay, Merriman is next. We have Miller Johnson working on that one with their Bob Haver and the other company. So we're working on that, and we're working to clean up the language and some things. So I'm hoping maybe June that we'll be able to lift that off too. So again, thank you for your efforts in making that happen. Beverly. What did I say? What did I say? Burton. Oh, and the Beverly. I didn't know that.
You said Burton.
The Beverly property went to? Oh, for sale.
It's vacant
Okay,
property,
right.
and there were issues, there were issues with the city that they didn't want trucks going down that road. However, the properties butted up together, so they didn't have to access back here. They could just do from their building. But there were issues with the wetlands, but they have been working on the wetlands for a year to get that engineered correctly.
Thank you.
So,
And Olive Street, and I'll be done. The Olive Street property here, we have 2 or 3 developers looking into the feasibility of purchasing that from us. But of course, Brat's Barbecue and Back to School will be the weekend after Labor Day, and we plan for it to be there, and Bill and I already talked. It's near impossible to be able to sell that property before September, so we'll be doing that too. So thank you so much. Thank you to the board. I apologize for getting up, but it's easier for me. I feel better than sitting behind that desk. Table. Batteries go. No questions? We're good, right?
I'll talk to you in a minute, Bill. We're forgetting about somebody else that utilizes that field. But, yeah, I forgot, sorry. Hey. Oh my God. It would be the report of the Director of Community Outreach and Special Programs.
After her.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent and community. So I'm going to present to you first on our Kindergarten Festival Week. You should have received a copy of the overview in your board packet. And so this is coming up actually pretty quickly. You see on our screen we have our wonderful flyer that will be sent out in multiple ways, in multiple venues. Basically, our Kindergarten Festival Week will allow each of our schools to actually showcase all the great things at their schools. It'll be a lot of fun, food, and also games. So we have 4 days. On the first date, Monday, June 5th, will be Romulus Elementary. Tuesday, June 6th, Wick Elementary. Wednesday, June 7th, Barth Elementary. And Thursday, June 8th, Hell Creek Elementary.
Would you mind stopping there, and we have to move a little bit faster, and my apologies.
Sure.
We have a closed session and attorney.
But I was going to say, Secretary Piles came to our 6th grade model, and I appreciated that. For a kindergarten festival, we would really like if a board member just showed up, just show up, please, so that our families can interact with you. We want to see you there. It's not on. We're good. Everybody can hear me. Oh, okay, so I said Secretary Piles came to our 6th grade model, and we appreciated that. We have these opportunities and other opportunities. We had the senior award banquet. We need to see our board members at some of these things, please. If you could just come, it would do a whole lot for us. So now we have kindergarten festival happening at 4 different schools, so we'd appreciate it. If you could just stop by, and if you can't, then come to something else.
Yes, so you all have that.
Yeah, just how will families be notified of these for incoming kindergartners?
Yes, so the last item on your overview talks about the marketing. So we have flyers that'll be going out in multiple ways from the principals that'll be sent out to those families in their school and also surrounding community, social media posts, ads, in touch using email and text messages. So multiple venues, multiple times throughout the day and also week.
So I saw that, do we have emails and phone numbers for families of kids who aren't yet in kindergarten?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Also, do we have addresses of those that are attending other districts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Families for from other districts that are school of choice outside of the city?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, next item. Okay. So the next item I'm going to talk about for community outreach is a couple updates. This is Department of Public Works Week, May 22nd through the 26th. And annually, they have an event where they invite our second graders to attend their site and tour the facility. So our schools will be going each day this week, starting with Hell Creek on May 23rd, Barth, May 24th, Rom El, May 24th, and Wick, May 25th. So that's an annual event that happens, and they always invite our schools. So looking forward to that happening this week for our elementaries. Okay. Lastly, I'll give an update on our RECC visits of our 4 elementary schools. So our RECC families and students will be visiting each of our 4 elementary schools. Tomorrow, they'll visit Wick and Romulus Elementary, and on Wednesday, Barth and Hell Creek. And those are all the updates I have for community
Time is that?
outreach. So for the time, tomorrow is 9:30 to 10:30, and Wednesday also 9:30 to 10:30.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have, so I went to eat at Leo's on Merriman. They have a screen in their lobby, or in their restaurant, that is streaming all of the city activities. It is dedicated to the city of Romulus. Can we somehow do something like that in our community? Post these things, get with the city, see if we can share their billboards, their screens. But it was very interesting. I sat there and I was like, oh, that's going on in the city? Oh, okay. So, yeah, that was at Leo's on Merriman.
And I just got a call today from the News Herald that asked, do we have anything that we want to put out there? And I said, I'll have a flyer for you, and it goes out Sunday, so it's going to be the Kindergarten Festival in the News Herald.
Thank you for that recommendation.
No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to have the report of the Dr. Meese. We'll do Dr. Meese, and then we'll do the report. Good evening.
I think we're good now. Good evening. Just want to bring to your attention, Board, you have something in front of you, a contract between Romulus Community Schools and Livonia Public Schools regarding a program called the Livonia Transition Program. This program is for students with mild cognitive impairments. These students are not eligible for Act 18 programs such as the Skill Center due to their disability. This is a program that is tuition-based. Our attorney, Roy Henley, has reviewed this contract, and Livonia is ready and willing to accept one student. We have 4 graduates from the LIFT program this year. Incidentally, I was at the LIFT program for the graduation party, and it was a fantastic event. Karen Morelli did a wonderful job, as did paraprofessionals, and there were some others assisting. But in any event, I am here asking that the Board of Education grant the partnership between Romulus Community Schools and the Livonia Transition Program so that one student can participate in this program. As you know, students with disabilities in Michigan are guaranteed a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment between birth and the age of 26. Specifically, we're talking about students who did not earn a high school diploma because they worked on a certificate of completion, which was a more appropriate course of study due to the student's disability. Lastly, the Livonia Transition Program focuses on work skills, soft skills, life skills, and is housed at Schoolcraft College, which gives students an age-appropriate experience. They're in a college classroom with their LTP peers, but they're on campus looking and acting like their neurotypical peers. This program also has a community component. So in addition to half of the day being in a classroom, the other half of the day they are in one of 25 community work sites supervised by a special education teacher and one or more parapros. Are there any questions?
What's the pricing?
I believe it's in the contract, but roughly $8,000.
Oh, I see it, I'm sorry, I see it. That's
8,000.
per year?
Yes.
Into,
And we have one student currently?
One student currently.
Very good.
Before we start any other discussion, can we read the motion?
Move that the Board of Education approve the Cooperative Education Program Agreement for the Special Education Livonia Transition Program for the 2023-2024 school year. Rationale, personnel action, budget implications, general fund.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Davis, supported by Kennard. Any other discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Davis,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Evans,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Dr. Meese. Next on the agenda will be the report of the HR Director. Please, Mr. Kevin Brock.
Guess I'm just answering questions if there are questions.
We need to read the motion.
Okay,
If someone
move
could
that
read
the Board of
motion.
Education approve the contract agreement for the following unions: the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 25 and Local 64, AFSCME, Romulus Association of School Administrators, RAZA, Romulus Education Association, MEA/NEA, REA. Their support.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Pyle, supported by Kennard. Any discussion?
Well, I think that Secretary Piles has asked the question for the bottom line cost of these contracts that we have not received for year 1, year 2, year 3. Also, is RAZA a valid bargaining unit? Because last year it was determined that they are not. So that's a question that I have, okay? They were not paying union dues, they didn't file their documentation with the state. So is RAZA a valid bargaining unit?
As far as when I came into this position, my understanding is yes, they are a valid, and it's not really for us as a unit to determine whether or not they're paying dues or not. I don't know if the paperwork but my understanding is yes, they're a collective bargaining group that we engaged in negotiations with.
May I ask a question to that, please, for RAZA? We enter as a district into a contract with a group named RAZA. Is that sufficiently binding? I mean, we're entering into a group with RAZA. That's our only concern, as I understand it. So our contract with them, as we approve it, is binding, whether or not they do or do not exist, whatever that means. But if we are entering into a group that we believe to be RAZA and they believe to be RAZA, is that a binding contract?
I would say yes. If we believe that it's binding, or we believe that they're a group, they believe they're a group, I don't know about the paperwork. This is the first time hearing about paperwork.
Okay.
Whether or not they're dues-paying members, that's not for us to determine as a employer. But if I feel like we've entered in negotiations in good faith with a group that believes they've entered in negotiations in good faith with us as the employer, then yes, I would say it's binding.
We had just heard something about this before, and it had nothing to do with dues-paying members.
Oh,
It was about if the organization itself filed paperwork and existed. That's way up here.
Yeah.
My question for you is, if we believe this organization exists within Romulus Community Schools, and they believe they exist, is this a binding contract?
Yeah, so every contract that we collectively bargain with has what's called a recognition clause. We are recognizing the group as a collective bargaining group, and they're recognizing us as the employer. So my answer to that remains yes.
Okay.
And I'll just share with this, there was a, and again, stop me if I'm speaking out, and I shouldn't say these things. There was a lawsuit that they were involved in, and the district could not protect them. And that's how this all came about, was that they did not file documents, they were not a bargaining unit, or they were not a valid, bargaining unit. So I just want to make sure that everybody is protected, that the district is protected, that the RAZA employees are protected. And again, we're getting into insurance issues.
We wanna
We've
make
got to
sure
be
that-
smart.
You
We've
don't-
got to be
We want to make
smart.
sure that
I
they are
would say this,
protected
coming
as
from
part of
Ann
the
Arbor
district.
schools, we were an association. So there's a recognition, but in terms of filing state papers and all that, we didn't have to do that. We're an association. Just
Okay.
like your HOA is an association, you get sued, your HOA can only do what they have. If they have insurance, they can cover it. If they don't, they don't. But it's an association, and an association doesn't have a lot of power.
Madam President, I have a quick question. Yes, when was each one of the contract agreements approved by its members?
Can you say that again, please?
When was each one of the contracts approved?
When were they
Yeah,
ratified?
when they were ratified by each of their,
Within the last week or week and a half.
within the last week and a half?
Yeah, every group was a little different. So the REA, I believe, was last week, the 15th. Raza was a few days before that, and the secretaries was a little bit before that, I think, maybe around the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I have a question. Was Local 64's contract opened up? Because it doesn't expire for another year.
Yeah, good question. Oh,
And we don't have anything except for dollar figures.
good question. So we didn't open the entire contract to language and benefits. We just opened it for salary purposes for the secretary. So that's why you have what you have before you. That will be added as an addendum to the contract.
Their contract expires, as you know, next year.
Right,
So
right.
2024. So this was just a wage reopener because I know that, the custodians joined the ranks and the custodians were made whole while the secretaries were not. So we thought in good faith, that's the right thing that we should do as a district, is if somebody joins theirs, then you don't leave the other ones behind. So we addressed the secretaries. Didn't talk about the custodians at all.
Well, we didn't leave them behind because it was already in their contract that they did get increases for this year. And we're probably not even supposed to be talking about this. We need to go into closed session to discuss
We
these
can't just
contracts.
discuss details.
Right, we're not
Right,
discussing
right.
details.
Right, but they, yes, what you said was accurate, that they had increases built in, but custodians, we brought in-house, so we had to add them.
And it was agreed upon with Local 64, all of those wages.
Right.
Thank you.
So my questions that I'd submitted was for the contract that's presented for approval tonight, what are the costs of this current year, 22-23, the cost of salaries, FICA, benefits, ORS, and extra duty pay? And then what are the proposed costs of those same things for year 1, year 2, and year 3 of these contracts with the compounding increases?
I can get that to you. I don't have that in front of me. I wasn't prepared to speak to that tonight, but I can get that to you. And well, I won't get into when that was shared with you, but that was shared with the board.
No, so what was shared with us is just like individual.
Steps and-
Steps, and then sources of where we could be pulling stuff from. But no, we weren't presented with the costs. And these questions go back, like I said, and requests for closed sessions and what were the parameters set go back to November 28th. So, and I've been sending this so that we know, because, and where do we stand, post-ESSER? Because, and the problem isn't approving this. The problem is making sure we protect this once we agree to it. because our staff took huge cuts in, I don't know, I wasn't on the board then, 2013, 14-ish, and we can never allow that to happen again. So that's why it's important, and that's why I had also requested our revenue trends and our projected enrollment trends, because last week it was brought to this board that we couldn't afford the 11 meta instructors because of the fiscal position and concerns about enrollment. But that's never been brought to the board. So whatever that information was that was considered, excuse me, I have just been asking, please forward that. Like whatever you guys looked at, please share it with the board so that we have that shared understanding.
So, so what you're asking is for the total cost that was shared with the board in closed session.
That was
That,
not shared.
year by year, I can show you the document. I'm happy to show you the document.
Well, I remember
so-
like
It was the base pay. It did not include any of the FICA, the,
and it was a year
the
one.
bennies, the taxes, nothing.
It was a year one. This specifically asked for with compounding increases. And actually, you were going to send financial stuff, because I was like, we have not been provided any financial information.
Well, I apologize if that was I'm not the business manager, so I would not have sent financials, but I did provide, and it did include FICA, ORS, and retirement. It was a total costed package on one of the contracts, year one, year two, year three. So I'm happy to forward that and
Okay,
send that to
Well,
you as
yeah,
well.
I
but-
mean, we were rushed through it. We still have many questions.
So
Or
what-
I have questions. I
What were
shouldn't
the
say
financial
there.
parameters, the total cost that you used when negotiating for all collective bargaining units? What was that dollar amount?
So I looked at all new monies coming into the district. So the last number that we were given that I used was $435 increase per student, which is roughly $850,000 of new money per year moving forward, which is based on having 2,000 kids in the district. So right now, we currently have north of 2,200 students. So I'm saying that we're going to lose, I don't hope we don't lose 200 kids, but the number that I based on the new money that I provided you all as far as in the conversation, but that was me. The parameters that I was working under were that from Dr. Green that was saying that he had parameters that with the way we negotiated in good faith with these groups, that we were within the parameters. I never was given a dollar amount. So what I gave the board were numbers that I thought would work if we had to pull money from somewhere, but not coming from our fund balance, period. Not using fund balance.
This board has never seen or heard from Rod Green, ever. So I don't know where Mr. Green got parameters. And there will be an increase of $400 and some per student, but there are other costs that are going up. So we weren't given anything about projected revenue increases, expense, and so that's information that I had specifically requested. What's our revenue trend? What's our expense trend? What's the projected expenses? What's the projected enrollment? That's just stuff that basically has always been provided to the board during negotiations without us even asking. And then as far as the total cost, there's year one, and we were kind of given like salary, but year two would be year one with compounded increases for steps and for the percentage increases. And then year three would be compounded. And the thing is like, these are just normal basic. And I've asked it over and over. And I mean, I'm not trying to be contentious. I'm trying to be fiscally responsible. And if we
so
don't
I will
have
say this.
parameters, how does anybody negotiate without knowing what is the amount that we're negotiating with over 4 collective bargaining units?
So I don't want to belabor the point. You were provided, the board was provided those numbers in closed session, compounded. Those 3 numbers for the one contract were provided. I'm happy to send that to you. I don't want to belabor that point. And I know you're not being trained. I know that you're not being contentious and you're being fiduciary, fiscally responsible, sorry. So I understand that. As far as when I negotiate in good faith. I'm not a kind of person that negotiates and wants to be the one turning the lights off. I share that with Dr. Edmondson all the time. I shared it with Dr. Green. I don't want to be the one that is here turning the lights off. I've had a very successful career at settling several contracts in good times and in not so good times. So I wouldn't look at this as, when I came on board, I made the assumption that parameters were given and that we were operating under those parameters as far as not exceeding the dollar amount. I don't know what that dollar amount was.
I can give it to you.
Okay, great.
Okay, because when I came, you got the same information I did, which was from Shelby. Shelby gave a sheet when we were in my office in closed session. I passed it out. Trustee Kennard was not there, and Trustee Evans was not there. The other 5 were there, and they came from, I believe Don Scott had the sheet from Shelby, Dan Scott. Dan Scott had the sheet from Shelby that went from 1% all the way up to 6 or 7%, and she said, you can afford all of this. She said, now, the question is, where do you want to be? But she gave us that sheet, and I gave it to everybody, but you two were not.
Dr. Edmondson?
Yes.
So, okay, so just so you know, we can't say what
Oh.
was said in a closed
Oh,
session.
my bad.
So, but I thought you were going to give a.
But we're still covered financially right now, so we're in.
Lord. So.
Oh, what? Oh, no.
I thought you were going to
That's
say.
funny.
Woo. I thought you were going to say like.
No, I didn't
a
say what
dollar
the-
amount.
no, I
So-
didn't say
So
what the
normally,
parameters.
like, what's given is, at the beginning of negotiations, we go into a closed session. Finance director will give us recommendation dollar amount. We get recommendations for bargaining strategy. Board comes out in open session and votes to approve the recommendations, and then negotiations
And the
start.
way that you explain it is exactly how I would have operated if I were here back in November. We would have had a closed session where we discussed parameters. I was operating under percentages, so I wasn't given a dollar amount. Not to say that I wasn't given any parameters at all. That's not, I don't want to say that. I want to say that I was operating with percentages, and we fell under the parameters of those percentages.
What I wanted to add is that it was percentages with a dollar figure, because it was in yellow. I can tell you that. And you two were not there, but others were. Now, again, you're talking about February, new board, new suit,
I know,
and you.
I know what you're talking about. That, however, was not parameters, and Mr. Brock, what you presented, the information I asked for, and in order to give us all of the costs, it would not fit on a one-page piece of paper with big font. And I can't say what was on the top and what was on the bottom, but what I'm asking for and what you're saying you provided would not fit. It could not fit on one piece of paper. And that's what we got.
Thank you, Secretary Piles. Is there any other discussion?
Well, I would like to go into closed session and discuss these in detail, because I have some questions about the language in each contract. And in our and you can shake your head, but in our governance training, we were told the contracts are presented. We then go into into closed session to discuss and bring up any questions we have about the contract we were presented. And then, at the next meeting, we cast our votes. This is nothing against anybody in the audience, against this board, against Mr. Brock, against Superintendent Edmondson. This is what we are being trained in our governance training, to make us a better board. So we should follow the advice of MASB and our governance. And it's going into closed session. The contracts don't expire this week, correct? Thank you. So we have time to go into closed session to do our due diligence. And then at the next board meeting, cast our votes, because then we're knowledgeable. We can have the financial information that was requested. And now we're all on the same page.
So there's presently a motion on the floor.
Is Ms. Evans making a superseding motion?
Yes, to go into closed session to discuss in detail the contracts that we have been presented for clarification.
Support.
So there was a motion by
Closed
Trustee
session.
Evans.
Ms. Evans, can you repeat that, please?
To go into closed session to discuss the contracts that we have been presented tonight for clarification on questions that board members might have, and to be able to discuss and see the documentation, once again, that was presented in closed session.
I can only write so fast. Presented tonight.
And that was,
And ask questions.
and that was supported by Kennard.
Okay, supported by Kennard. It's Kennard.
Roll call vote.
Is there any, okay. Evans,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Hiles, yes. McCarthy?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, we didn't ask for discussion.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Sorry, Vice President.
No problem. Can that not be added to our closed session that we already have at the end?
Oh, yes, it's not going to that one. We want to add it to this one? It's a separate, that's
We're
a
going to go into 2 closed sessions tonight?
We could, but we can let the attorney go.
I'm
so-
asking.
So we don't
You
pay
can't.
for it.
we don't have the documentation that we need to go into closed session tonight for it.
So this will be at the next meeting, closed session?
If it's approved.
Just asking, Madam President.
Yeah, because we don't have the documentation to go
yeah, why
in
don't we
tonight,
just-
and that's what, not, legal's not here for that.
Redo the motion.
We didn't say it's tonight, it just said a closed session.
I have to clarify.
Well,
Go ahead. It's a valid question.
Thank
it
you.
is a valid question, but we also know that Mr. Brock has said he would get us the financial
Right.
information. That can be added to it, but to go into closed session for questions and some clarification and some of the wording, that's what the closed session that I'm requesting.
Oh, are you saying tonight, Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Oh, do you want, okay, let me add that to the motion. So it would be 2
Well,
separate.
that way we get it's done, and then at the next
Okay.
meeting, we vote on it, so.
Okay, okay. So we would do 2 separate closed sessions. First one with the attorney, and then the attorney can leave, so we're not paying.
Right.
But how are we going in closed session if we don't have all the documentation?
Because Mr. Brock said that he would get us the documentation, but if the board members ask the questions, then he knows what documentation to get.
Doc Brock, you getting the documentation tonight?
No.
No, it's not getting it.
Okay.
What she's saying is going into closed session to discuss and ask questions so that he can bring back all the documentation that it.
All the
that is being
financial
requested.
information that's requested.
But I have a question. So, if you went into closed session, the next session, you got your questions, sent them to whomever, say to me, and I send them to him. And not just to him, I'm involved too. So
Okay.
I'm involved too. Are we prepared to go into closed session and vote when we come out of closed session, June?
Yes,
12.
it should
Yes.
be, yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
There should be no reason, I mean, as long as we get our information and we can ask questions via email and get,
Starting now, so that we're not last minute.
right, then we should be able to vote on the next meeting in June, the first meeting in June.
So, Ms. Evans, may I
Does
take your
that
tonight
clarify
out?
your answer? I mean, your question?
Yes, Madam President, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Ms. Evans, may I take your tonight out of the motion?
Session tonight.
Yes, so it would be go into closed session, not tonight. Just go into closed session to discuss. So this will be, as Dr. Edmondson stated, at the next meeting. So we will send questions to Dr. Edmondson, and he will help gather information. So we will be prepared then to come out of closed session on the 12th to vote.
Well, can I ask this question? Dr. Edmondson, would you rather receive 50 emails or have questions answered in closed session tonight?
50 emails, probably you're going to give me 50 emails.
Well, no, I'm being
He's
sarcastic.
not wanting
but-
closed session tonight.
close.
Pick up what he's putting down.
Thank you, you got that right.
Yes, it's,
Because I think the majority of the questions are what you sent out this
we've sent them,
afternoon.
we've, yeah.
And just
what
really
we've been sending-
In
clarifying.
reviewing it, in reviewing it.
And then reviewing this TA, because people who didn't pick up their board packet, it wasn't sent electronically.
But I think maybe what trustee Evans is getting at is that she has some questions about language. Sounds
Correct.
like there's a language issue. So,
I can stay with you.
you were funny. You made me lose my train of thought. So if Trustee Evans has questions about the language, and we give her the answers on next Monday or whatever it is, you're still prepared. I just want to make sure if we go into closed session that we are prepared to vote, because it's just holding it out is
Yeah.
just not good for any of us. It will not be good for any of us. So I just want to make sure that we can get the information, but it is hard what you just said. There is a likelihood I get 50 questions. I know you were being sarcastic, but I'm not.
Right.
There's
So
a
I think if
likelihood that
we-
I get that, and then I'm like, it's going to take me forever. And, you know, my concern is this, and that's no, listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When we start getting in the weeds of a contract and deciding and determining what somebody else deserves, then we get into a huge, huge problem. And I don't know where a ULP comes into play, but sometimes it does come into play in situations when we're negotiating, or that there's a good faith, there's an assumption of good faith that you bring to the table. So I just want to be careful. I know you have questions,
Right.
but when it comes to the language, that's something different.
Well,
That's something
think
that I
part of
have
it
to
is-
live with.
I
We
think
all
part
have
of
to
it
live
is the fact that we weren't being brought up we were not being brought up to par. We were not knowledgeable in anything throughout the whole process.
Okay.
Okay, where normally the board would be brought up and said, okay, this is what we did, this is where we're working on this, updates as the.
Progress update.
Progress updates, and none of that we were not provided that. So there were questions that,
You won't get 50 from me. You've
60.
you've already got mine. So if Ms.
Again,
Evans.
all I
yeah.
want to say is, just in terms of the language, that's where I worry about getting in the weeds of the work that we do, the day-to-day operations. It's me. You don't deal with that part.
Right.
I do. We deal with that. The money part, sure. But
Yeah.
the language part, there are issues. They are issues that we are
I
working with.
I
That's
just
all I'm
need some
saying.
clarification
Okay.
on things.
Yeah.
How many questions am I going to get from you?
You've got them.
Okay.
The same ones I've been sending. You have mine.
Okay, are we ready to
Yeah.
continue with the vote,
Those
please?
are love taps.
So the motion is to go into closed session on June 12th to discuss these contracts and receive the documentation and answers to questions and vote afterward.
And that was made by Evans and supported by Kennard.
Correct.
Can we do a roll call vote?
Yes. Evans,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles. Yes. Oops. McCarthy,
No.
Laster,
No.
Davis,
No.
Wester.
No.
Motion fails.
And I just,
So
go ahead, I'm sorry.
we go back to the motion. Move that the Board of Education approve the contract agreements for the following unions: the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 25 and Local 64, ASME, Ramos Association of School Administration, RASA, and C, Ramos Education Association /MEA/NEA, better known as REA. Rationale is personnel action, budget implications, our general fund. Is there support?
Support.
That motion was already on the floor. It was made by Piles and supported by Kennard.
I'm sorry.
It's
So
okay.
we just reverted back to that. So motion by Piles, supported by Kennard. Roll call vote.
Piles, I don't have enough information to vote on this. Kennard,
No.
Davis,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
Evans? No. McCarthy,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
motion carries. So before we move on, will we get that information then, Dr. Edmondson? For the questions that I'd submitted? Dr. Edmondson? So, I'm sorry? I'm sorry. So the motion carried, these have been passed. Will I still get the financial and expense and enrollment information? Thank you.
And also, Dr. Atkinson, can the information that was passed out, I have a copy of that as well. Can you, yes, because I never received that information for the financial part of it. Okay.
All right.
Madam President?
Yes.
Move that the Board of Education approve the newly created positions as presented. A, Director of Teaching, Learning, and Professional Development. B, Supervisor of Literacy and Social Studies. C, Supervisor of Math and Science. D, Supervisor of Professional Development. E, English Language Learner Coordinator. F, Human Resource Generalist. G, Restorative Practices Facilitator. H, Positive Behavior Intervention Support, PBIS/Social Emotional Learning Coordinator. I, Special Education Supervisor. And J, Strategic Partnerships Coordinator. Rationale, personnel, action, budget implications. A, General Fund. B, Title I Grant. C, Title I Grant. D, Title II Grant and General Fund. E, Title III Grant. F, ESSER III Grant/General Fund. G, 21H/General Fund. H, 31A/Title IV Grant. I, General Fund. And J, ESSER III Grant Fund.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Davis, supported by Kennard. Is there any questions or discussion?
Well, I have a comment. These 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 positions are going to cost the district, according to the spreadsheet we have, $1.6 million for 1 year. $478,000 is coming out of general fund. How do we justify $1.6 million in assistance for directors, supervisors to support directors, yet we are removing a paid-for program where we don't want to pay instructors for our students? How many of these positions actually reflect the education, the direct education of a student? So you're telling me a community outreacher is a direct position that will teach a child, that will teach a student at $217,000?
Point of order, Ms. Evans, please Madam Chair, please remind board members to direct questions to
I'm
the
sorry.
president and superintendent, not to the audience.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Secretary.
I will direct it to Dr. Edmondson then.
And I will answer that. We have a huge truant problem here, truancy. If you're talking about, which one are you talking about?
Director of Community Outreach and.
No, which
Community
position were you
Programs.
talking about?
In general,
Okay.
which one?
So
which-
all of those, okay, you know, as I hear people saying things, if we're talking about achievement, let's talk about making certain that we have an instruction department that can support teachers. When we have an instruction department that can support teachers, we will get the results that we want. We have had one person in K-12 instruction, 2, 3 people in the last year and a half, maybe, with what supports? 0. But yet we're going to sit here and say we're not achieving. You're right, we're not achieving because somebody was short-sighted enough not to put those positions in. That's what is necessary. Teachers impact students, and a department will impact a department, instruction department impacts student achievement. There is no instruction department. It's a person of one. One. Now, if we get back to, here we go again, we're talking about MetaLab. Tell me how we can't have that after school and it not be successful. I'm totally missing that. We go from 8 hours, from 45 minutes a day to 2 hours after school every day. Just help me understand the logic.
The way the enrollment was handled was not correctly.
What
okay?
do you mean enrollment?
The students didn't have the opportunity to
listen.
enroll in those classes.
And I'm not going to dispute that. I will not, because
Okay.
I wasn't here for that.
Right.
But what I am here is to move this district forward in a way that I am certain will move us forward.
So
I
we
have thought
received-
about these things. I have given them tremendous thought, losing sleep over the things. Again, I've said, if you can't launch something properly, it's very difficult to turn around and try to do it again. It won't work. We have staff, if we were to be open and honest, which I don't really want to be open. I can be honest. I really don't want to be open to expose things that I know. I just don't. But I'm just saying, it's not well received. The program isn't well received, and we saw it
I
here.
have a document from the Michigan Department of Education for adult professional learning that we would have gotten training for MetaLab specifically with Romulus, Muskegon Heights, Harper Woods, and River Rouge.
Muskegon Heights now.
Okay, this is on their list.
I
This is
figured
on
it
their
would be.
list, Okay?
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, well, again, we're going to associate it to an individual, which is not correct, okay? We would have had the opportunity, and we still can, have the opportunity for this. This was mailed to 2 people in the district, and we chose not to enroll in this training course, apparently, because
And
they had-
again, I'm going to share with you, I wasn't here for any of that. Okay,
this
I
was
don't know if
mailed-
that.
This was mailed out to 2 people in the district in late April, early May.
All right, well, if it comes to me, I mean, it would, but I would still say what I'm going to say. We're passing around MetaLab stuff when right now we should be talking about instruction.
Well,
Okay, and I'm
MetaLab
just-
is
and I'm not-
instruction,
I'm
because
sure,
if you
but
read
it's not in
this,
terms, if we're talking about literacy and mathematics, the question that you just asked, you looked at these positions and you kind of said, what do we need those for? And I'm trying to explain why we need these. I'm not here to talk about this because I said we could do this after school, and I find it amazing that we're going to sit here and we're going to argue over this when I just do the general math on the number of hours, 8 hours versus 3.5 hours.
Well-
How do we justify that? And if we're talking about credits, I don't know if we're talking about credits. If we're talking about credits, okay, in our district, students need 18 credits. Okay, if we want to move it up to 24, 23, then you start putting more programs during school so that they can get credits. But 18, you don't even need that for 18.
Workforce High students work on core subjects through a unique competence-based curriculum that engages them through engaging entrepreneurial ventures.
So, if I may, trustee, and I respect that. Again, okay, if you were to ask me my vision, I said it would be after school. If, okay, this was my thought, if there is this great demand because we've done it right after school and we have kids demanding it and we have kids enrolled in it, that is something that we could redo a year later because now you can launch it correctly. I'm not caught up in the politics. I will not get caught up in the politics of MetaLab. I'm not, okay? I'm not. I wasn't here for that. If all of these things were available, this should have been done first. This should have been done first, so that everybody knew that this went on, and it wasn't.
It was presented when it rolled out. It
Okay,
just
again, I
wasn't
wasn't,
completed
know
by
I
the
wasn't
director
here.
that- right.
Okay, you know I wasn't
It wasn't
here.
completed by the director that was supposed to do it.
So actually, that wasn't rolled out first, because that is from the state of Michigan. MDE just recently added this to the MME to give core credit for content, so yes.
This was emailed to the district, to 2 individuals
Right,
in late April.
but I'm saying before, when we initially brought Meta to the district, MDE did not recognize it yet. So now the districts that go through this training will be able to offer it for math, science, ELA credit. So, yeah, I just wanted to-
And
Thank you, Treasurer.
trustee, I know we're at that time. I'm sorry, but
I don't-
it's important to you, and
It
I
is
know it's
very
important for me to
because-
respond, too.
Because the students are crying for help. They are learning a skill, and they are learning their core through these classes also. If you went into a MetaLab, you could see their
I have.
postings for their classes,
have.
and we have $1 million worth of equipment. What's going to happen to the equipment?
Well, we own the equipment. That's what's going to happen to the equipment. We own it.
Well,
It's
and
ours.
It's a different learning style. It's for students who don't learn through the traditional textbooks and learning. It's a lot like, even as I listened to the presentation on our sixth grade models and the collaborative learning environments and the hands-on project-based learning, there are so many parallels, so it's
So
for
let
those
me-
learners who learn differently.
And you can learn after school. Okay, I'm just saying you can learn after school, but I'm not here, I don't want to, it's not against you personally, I don't want to get there. I'm looking at these positions that we have, they are well thought out to move this district
$1.6
forward.
million thought out?
I said before, like, it does, first of all, this is grant money. A lot of it is grant money. We named all the sources. So what we have done is move, if you don't use 31A, what are you going to do with it?
What percentage
What
of
are you
the
gonna do with it?
grants are these paid for? So out of Title I grant, what's the percentage of the Title I grant? What's the percentage of the Title II, the Title III?
I can give you that. I can't give it to you now. We have Mark Graham, who would gladly give you that information.
Okay.
He's that
I
thorough.
would appreciate that.
So again, these positions are to put the district in the right position to stabilize it. I know you're asking questions about that, but you should also be asking about some of the positions that we have moved. But this is not like it was just developed last night and we didn't think about it. There's been great.
I just think it's an exorbitant amount of money for,
So
for-
I'm going to ask you, because I know it's going to come up later, for sure. If it cost 1.6 million and our scores went up, would it be worth it or would it not be worth it?
it absolutely would be worth it.
Now,
Okay.
if it doesn't, all I would say is we've spent money on a whole lot of stuff that didn't work. At least we're trying something here where we think that we're going in the right direction. Give it a chance. And not only give it a chance, I just ask that you support it. I don't want it to become what it likely can become, which is personal. Which is personal, and I don't want it to be
It's not
personal.
personal for me.
I know you
I'm
say
looking
it
at the
isn't.
education of students.
That's my job. I've been in the education of students for 30-plus years, and I've gone through, and a master's degree and a doctoral degree do matter. I'll say that in terms of what I'm talking about.
Thank you,
They
thank
do
you,
matter.
thank
But
you.
this is the issue at hand. This. But again, thank you so much. I will answer your question. I know you're passionate, and I'm passionate about just this. And I know you're passionate about MetaLab. That's it.
Thank you.
I'm passionate
for-
about the.
Are there any other
program.
Yes,
questions?
may I ask a question that's not meta-related, but about this motion, please? So my question is, in coming up with this organizational structure, what other districts, either in our ISD or in the state of Michigan that are like Romulus Community Schools, have a structure like this?
I don't know. I don't look at other districts like that, but I can show you what their achievement looks like, and it's the same as Romulus Community Schools.
Okay, because.
So we need to do something different.
Okay, because, Ms. okay, and to the grant money. So when all of these grant funds we currently get and we use, so if we could, because obviously, this will be approved, but if we could just get currently what we spend all of this grant money on, the only one that is new is the 21H, which is categorical, which is, I think, $117,000 to be divided, excuse me, between 51 schools in October, and then there'll come
more
out
than
a round two, it's something like that.
It's pretty poor.
Yeah,
It's pretty
so that 21H is not going to be a lot of money. And then all of the other grant funds we currently use. So grant funds aren't free money. It's just money that we get, so we don't have to use general fund, but we're already using our grant funds on something. So my question would be, one, what are we currently using those grant funds for that now we're going to use on this? And how then will we pay for those things that we
Gladly.
won't be using the grant funds for? And then all of these, again, how you say that this will improve student
That's
scores.
the goal, so I can't promise that in anything. I can't make
Right,
that promise.
but that is the goal.
That is
That
absolutely
is
the
the goal. So who will monitor if that goal is being achieved? How will it be measured, and how often will we get reports on that?
Well, there's a couple of things that are at stake. sorry. There's a couple of things that are at stake. First of all, when we redo my goals and my evaluation, there's certain things that you want to put in there. Not to say that I would fail, but we put them in there because that we're working collaboratively to achieve those. We do the MyKIP that we have the partnership meeting. It just feels like we have so much now for going into next year that we have to report, that you will get that information because we have no choice. Part of the partnership is that the board does their part and then we do, the goal is to get off of there. But, you know, this, one of the things that I'm working on, as I said, to the teaching, learning, and professional development office is that just continuous information, continuous data that not only I get that I can share, because I want to put it on you all so that when we get up here, we do talk about assessment, we do talk about data, because we don't talk about that here. And it's necessarily, maybe you don't have the information, I have a lot of it, but you all need to get it. So those are things that I'm working on, like every quarter you get assessment data. You should have that.
So will we have academic data at the end of this year so we know what our starting point is?
You just tell me what you want and you can have it.
All of that.
I know. So
Right.
we're,
So, yeah.
we good? I'm
So-
just looking at, we'll
So
get
like
that to you.
even like some of these, I'm just, because, you know, Shelby Fryer had said that when we no longer receive ESSER 3, if our expenses and revenues stay the same and nothing changes, we're looking at the solvency of this district being about a year and a half
So-
if we don't get increased enrollment. So if that is true, and I'm just looking at a special education supervisor, okay? So if we have a special ed director that, and that salary is, and I know compliance, we have to be in compliance, but if we have a salary of, I don't know, between 130, 140, and adding a special education supervisor at 110, is there any district that is paying, you know, 250
Okay, so.
for special education?
Again, he's not going to make it at 8:30, I'm just saying, because I think these are really good
I mean,
questions.
we have
I
to
think they're
consider
really
this,
good
right?
questions.
Because if we're paying
Right.
it here,
So let me,
we're not
if I
paying it in
can,
a classroom.
Just a couple of things on this one. A, that's why I get worried about live streaming. Whenever we talk about solvency or we'll be gone in a year and a half, people hear that and they run with that and say the district's going to fail. That's what they leave with. That's not your fault, but that's what they leave with. They hear that like, oh, Romulus is going under. No, it's not. Okay, it is not. In terms of, I will be glad to give you the ESSER money, what we're using it now, and what we were going to do with it in the future, what we're going to do, so you can see how we offset a number of things. Some of the things, and I don't know if there was a presentation to you on ESSER, what was going to be done. I have no idea, but I know what I walked into, and I'm like, some of those things. Give you an example. DBG, is that what it's called? 500,000. You're not doing DBG. You're not doing that. So you don't have to, you can take that right out of ESSER, or excuse me, it doesn't need to be line item when we can take that money and use it for something else. And there's so many other things. Mark Graham has met with us repetitively on a to nauseam where I feel comfortable, and I'm like, I'll be glad to have him come. I am comfortable with the information that I saw. In terms of enrollment, every district, for the most part, is losing enrollment. I bet on myself. I tell everybody that. I'll bet on myself. I'll bet on the things that we do are going to get families into our district because they're seeing some of the results and they're seeing what we're doing. Can I guarantee that? No, I can't. But in all of the monies, you have to, it's not a shell game, but you have to move things, and sometimes you have to lay people off. It just is. I'm not saying that we're going to do that, even though I said it. People are going to leave and say, he's laying off. No, I'm not. But what happens is sometimes you have to move things around because if your numbers drop tremendously, you have to do it, no matter the district. You see the district right up the street laying people off because they put ESSER funds. They paid with positions that they weren't supposed to. And as I said in a meeting here, when I interview people, I always tell them, ask one question, and this is the question you ask. How am I being funded? Because if we hire people and we tell them ESSER, they need to run. We're not going to do ESSER for that. We will do ESSER for other things. But if there is a chance where we're able to offset for a year on certain things, sure, we're going to do it. But this is what my cabinet talks about all the time to make certain, and I always say, you don't want to touch general fund first. That's the last thing that you touch is general fund. So any position that we can put into a grant, we will do it so that it frees up your general fund. Your questions are very valid. So I'm not even, they're very valid, and I appreciate that. Other questions that you have, I'll be glad to answer those. Those, I love talking about, all of this stuff. and
I have a
work
question
on it.
about one of the positions specifically. I'm sorry, this is a board meeting. Okay?
I'm looking at
Director of, Director of
I'm
Teaching,
finished.
Learning, and Professional Development. One of their essential duties, and this is why I feel like we should have supervisor of literacy and social studies, reports to the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Professional Development. One of their duties and responsibilities is makes regular classroom visits, confers with teachers, provides constructive criticism, and consults with principals regarding departmental activities. How does that interfere with the REA contract? How can you have a supervisor walk into a classroom
I can answer that.
and confer with the teachers and give constructive criticism? I mean,
When you're, all of our, there's one meeting here. But it's a very good question again. A supervisor has to have an administrative assistant. You two, both of you can't be in the REA and then I'm going to evaluate you. I made certain that every supervisor position will allow us an opportunity to evaluate if we have to. I need you to be able to go into social studies class and be able to give support, but also if we had to, I need you to evaluate. If you've been working on professional development, you know exactly what to look for when you walk in that classroom because you've given the professional
the
development.
REA has bought off on this.
The REA, if they haven't, they will. They're right there, but I
But
can.
again, is it?
Yeah,
is
that's
it
a valid question, because we had a bad experience, our teachers did with,
Okay, well, listen, and I believe that, but I will say this, and I don't want you to look at this the wrong way. There's something that can be said about having collaboration with people, having trust, that they trust what you're going to do and you trust what they are going to do. One of the things I can tell you, we have a problem-solving meeting every month with the REA, with my staff and their staff, to head off issues like this, okay? And we agree. We usually come to an agreement. We collaborate. That's something I know that wasn't done before I came, okay? And when I was gone, I don't know if you still did it, but I can say that we're back and we have a collaborative relationship where, Ms. Evans, if you ask me that, we sit down with them, and if they disagreed, we sit down there and we iron out, because we don't want those issues coming to the board table. So we work with them. But I had already said, I don't remember which person it was of the two, I said, we have supervisor positions. Okay, they can evaluate. That doesn't mean that they're going to, but guess what? If you're going to have a supervisor position, you're going to have to be able to evaluate.
Well, and that's
Otherwise, you're an REA
well,
member.
that's their position, right? But again, are we looking at ULPs because they have people that are not their direct reports walking in and giving
Okay, so I can say
constructive
this, as the
criticism?
superintendent, I am certified, I'm a certified administrator. I can go into any single classroom and evaluate. As the superintendent, I can do it. Doesn't matter if
Not
you're,
a supervisor.
I am a supervisor.
No, in this
Oh,
position.
oh. Well, that's what I'm saying, because they are under their supervisor, and that's one of the key components, is that you must have an administrative certificate, certification. That's why we did that. Now, back to you. Dr. Meese, I've already been talking to Dr. Meese. I said, you're doing too much. You're going to all these meetings. You can't do it. We are a small district, and when they have one person, and I said the same thing in HR, and you all remember that 2 years ago. I said, there's no way you can be effective doing HR and you're a person, you only have you're a department of one. Because when you have to, when there's a, what is that called? I can't even think of it, a grievance. When there's he's done. There's an investigation. He's done. That's why we need help. Same thing there. I'm like, a district this size, we should have somebody else that can support. Because one person can't do it, and that's what I'm trying to say to the district. Listen, everybody talks about money. Everybody want to talk about money, but let's talk about what's really happening here. We don't have the right supports for our staff. That's the issue, and that's going to cost us money because they were probably cut. 10 years ago, you probably cut it, and look what's happened. It's time now where we've been blessed as a country to get ESSER funds. Let's use them the way that we need to use them so that we can give the supports to our staff. Or else you're going to burn them out. You're going to leave.
so this special education supervisor, I believe there's,
He's right there. He can
there's
talk.
a big refund of money that was supposed to be coming back to districts for IDEA as
That can't,
as salaries?
Yeah, not that one, you can't, IDA. I don't
Is salary
think you can
something
do.
that can be paid with that if we get a
supervisor.
supervisor or no? No?
You don't have to get up, sir.
I was just wondering, and what, and,
Look, I'm competent enough.
Yes, you are. I feel like a question was directed to me, so I'd like to participate this way. I am funded through IDEA
okay, your
funds.
salary?
90% of my salary comes from IDEA funds, 10% general fund because of the other duties that I have that are outside of special education. We consulted with Mark Graham about the funding source for this position, and we took his guidance.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Ed, I know you keep trying, I understand. You
But
can
this is
forget
good to
that
know
now.
that, yeah, because I didn't
No,
even
I'm
know.
What are
saying
the
she's
length
not
of
gonna
these
make-
I just
contracts?
have one quick question, Madam President.
Go ahead, Judy.
I just want to make
Thank you,
sure
Dr.
that I,
Hayes.
I heard Superintendent correct and the information that's brought before us. And my question, you know, as always, is with the sustainability financial beyond the duration, you know, because some of these are grants funded and general fund. You got about close to 500 and the runs is 1.6. So I want to make sure that I heard you correctly, and that is that pertaining to the grant portion of the general fund, we're sustainable after 1 year. Are you saying that these positions are 1 year? And then we're looking at it beyond that, or, and I know that you cannot answer.
Again, you already know, I'm like, oh, no.
You cannot
asked me the same,
answer.
I'm like, oh, no,
Okay, you
please.
cannot answer, you know, the probability of where we're going, but for a what-if scenario. I know
So
you
the-
had to do a what-if, and what
And
if.
the what if
Yes,
scares
yes,
people.
okay,
It scares
yes.
everybody
So
if
we
you
need to-
say the
right.
what if, and you say, well, if it doesn't work, then you get assigned to the classroom. You will be assigned a job here. That is the what if. People will have jobs in this district. That's the what if. But I don't suspect that we're going to lose any funding. I don't suspect, but I'm not certain. I mean, you have a government that's gridlocked now talking about let's cut. I can't be, but I want to make certain that we're in a position where we can sustain. And if we didn't, then I'm going to make the necessary moves, and you're entrusting me to do that. So I would do that again. As Mr. Brock said, I'm not turning the lights off here. Not going to happen. So if we ran into that problem, I would be bringing Mark Graham in and my team and say, okay, listen, this is where we have to go now. And people can usually see that. You can see when there's a downturn. So I would hope that there isn't, but I love the question. But the what if scares me to even say it, because they're going to leave saying, oh, I got a year contract. Don't want to say it like that. I mean, but essentially, we all have a year contract, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, money changes, and guess what? It's just, it is what it is. Okay, I wish we could be more, I wish I could be more insightful. Perspicacious is actually the
Yeah,
word, but I
yeah,
don't,
thank you.
it's too big.
So then, after we approve these, will you then bring these contracts to us then with, because I know
Oh,
we
yeah,
were,
oh,
we were given a
absolutely.
range, but then we can get
Oh,
them
we have,
approved.
I thought, yes, yes, yes.
Get them
there were,
approved so
yes,
all the
yes,
employees can
yes.
breathe.
Yes, and I will show you the,
It's a
again,
relief.
we've done a lot of work on this. I will show you, I will get up there and do it in a way that we didn't do it before we showed it to you. But I want you to see the hierarchy, the organizational chart, so you can see. I want you to see the community assistance and how we're going to be sharing information with one another. I think you'll be pleased. It's not something that we just thought of last night. This has been over 2 months working on putting the right positions, giving the right supports, and making certain that everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And as I talked to our President Carter over there, I said, listen, when we approve a contract, I better get better outcomes. And it's true. We need better outcomes, at least in growth. I had that conversation. Achievement looks a little bit different, meaning if a kid comes to they're in the 5th grade and have a 3rd grade level, a teacher's not going to get them to the 5th grade by the end of the year. But doggone it, you should be able to grow when you're with a teacher all year. There is no excuse for us not growing students. Another thing that we did not share with you is that, listen, we looked at a new staffing model. Okay, we have I don't want to scare people, but we just had too many teachers teaching 17 and 18 kids and getting the same results. That's crazy. So we need to look at raising the class size. You have to at this point, because then you'll realize that you have too much. Okay, so we have to think about some of those things too, but we're just making changes that we think would be beneficial to our district Okay, we do need to get a little bit bigger. We have classes as low as 17, and the highest was 28. One person, 28, one person, 27. Everybody else, far low. For those results, So when you pass a contract, and I want everybody to know that, it starts with me. The expectations have to change, okay? And they will. We need to see growth. You should be asking me about growth. And when we look at growth, then we can have another conversation where you can say to me, does this number look, is this really what it, yes, that's what it looks like. Then it's my responsibility to address it, which I will anyway. But I need this board to think about student growth. We have measures to show you student growth. I've been very disappointed that we shouldn't be growing kids greater than we are, but I feel like with the things that we're doing now, or if you approve these positions, that now there's really no excuse. Nobody can say to you, well, I didn't have support. You should never hear that again.
That's
That you didn't
exciting.
have support.
Okay.
Okay? That's what
Okay.
I expect, and I
Can I-
think the teachers' union would respect that, to say, we've now put positions in to give people support, and now you want the results.
How many of our seniors are actually graduating?
I thought it was
Percentage.
140. Oh, percentage? I don't know the percentage, but I think it was 140 when I asked, and I just saw the
It's higher
program.
than what we think, and what we've been told.
What's that?
It's higher than what we think and what we've been told.
I don't know
We've
what
got
you've
a-
been told.
We've got a good graduation rate.
I don't
Do we?
know.
Okay.
I saw 140, and I
Because of
wasn't
the
happy with that.
reduction of the
wasn't happy with
requirement.
that.
I was wondering how that, if that helped, if that was affecting,
Yeah,
Well,
thank
yeah.
that's
you.
Vice Secretary Piles asked a question about, before, about, something about, I don't know if it was credits, 18 versus, I didn't make that decision. I
No.
just found out, I know it's 18 now, and that's a discussion that we have
22.
to have. But if you don't have electives and things, and you're not offering AP and all those other things, you better keep it at 18.
Dr. Edmondson, it's 22. It was only 18 for students identified at risk.
The whole
And
district's
then
at
there was
risk.
like a okey-doke motion that, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm saying the whole district's at risk, no matter what. We meet the characteristics of an at-risk district. Thank you. We have 2 minutes for closed session.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Davis,
Yes.
Kennard. Yes. McCarthy,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
Evans. Piles. Yes. Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next on the agenda is report of subcommittees. Are there any subcommittee reports?
Madam President, may I speak?
Yes.
We are going to meet the finance. We just haven't had that opportunity to get with the person, the administrator.
Okay.
So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have something. And then too, if there's anything that any board member or anyone would like for us to bring, to take forth, please, give us some information, because we are representing the board. And now I'm quite sure you have some questions or whatever, but there are some things, again, that Dr. Edmondson just spoke today, that the board should be receiving in terms of, financial reporting and what have you not. And that's our goal, is to try to get those in order so that we can go into, hopefully, the next year with the type of information reports and a timeline.
Thank you.
Did you say when you're going to meet?
We haven't set a date,
Okay.
but we will send an email out to anyone, board member, if you want to attend. And of course, the superintendent, has to be available, and the administrator as well.
Thank you.
We'll
I
do
have,
that.
I have a question for Ms. Kennard.
Yes.
Who is overseeing finance?
That's the question.
Who will you be meeting with?
Who is the
So
administrator?
we have Sarah Khan, as you know, is the, I don't know, finance director, I don't know what your position is. What's
Business
it?
manager.
Business manager. And right now, I said we have Kathy Secor, who's assisting us, and she's training Sarah Khan, and I don't know how often they talk. I trust Kathy with my bank account, because I know what happened at IPSI. It was nothing but great thing. We never had, I said, 0 findings. You used to hear me say that all the time. 0 findings. So she's working with her. We have interviews. When's our interview? This week? We have second interview? And we have a second interview with a finalist, like, thank goodness. The board needs to know, you know this is hard, and it's been hard for me, not having somebody really in place for that long.
So
She
to
got the
answer your
good
question,
numbers.
we'll be reaching out to Sarah Khan, who she'll be reaching out to Kathy, okay? We'll do that. All right.
Thank you, trustee Kennard.
Madam President, the policy committee met on Tuesday, May 16th, to start discussing board policy. We reviewed the school policy for Miller Johnson. It's a more condensed policy. However, it ranges from board policy all the way to student discipline. I do recommend moving forward that we adopt the Miller Johnson School Policy Services as a base model. And then from there, we will be able to update our school policy with anything we would like to add or consider to the policy.
Thank you for that update.
Question, Madam President, who do we have now?
It was
Is it still Miller
It's
Johnson?
Miller Johnson.
Yeah, we've always used Miller Johnson?
We've always used Miller
Okay,
Johnson.
all right, that's what I
No.
thought.
Still Miller Johnson. However, our policy has not been updated in 2 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Report-
Question on that? Sorry, Madam Vice President. Could you share that base model for review?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
I know that, I believe you wanted a search find feature so that we
Well,
can
yeah,
easily search up
Easy
policy.
to, for everyone to find so that we're,
I would encourage you, Madam Vice President, to consider having at least 2 people from the community sit on the committee, because they give a different perspective. They're able to give an added perspective as community members. Who, I don't care, that's up to you, but
Can I pick them?
that's sure. Whatever you want to do, you and your team. But it just makes sense when you have other people's viewpoints who are not sitting in the district.
Thank you.
and Dr. Edmondson, this would be for you and Mr. Brock. I know that we were missing updates, our policy was missing updates in law, and one thing that was mentioned was Title IX. My question is, do we need to redo any in-district Title IX training?
I know Mr. Brock wants to do that because he's like, I'm the Title IX guy. Okay, I'm back off.
No, I'm not the Title IX guy, but that's a great question. Yes, we all need to be retrained. I know that there was some training that occurred maybe last year, 2 years ago.
2021, yeah.
And so, yes, training will need to be, it's really good training to do every year with whoever your people are. It changes with every administration, and as a matter of fact, it's getting ready to change again with President Biden. So every new president that comes on board, they make their modifications to Title IX. So yes, the answer to your question is yes, more training.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is report of the board president. I just want to once again acknowledge all our retirees that are coming up. Lynn Moore, Daniel McCabe, Paula Gutzman, who has been truly missed here. Has been truly missed. And also Miss Roxanne Kacharski. Since you've stepped into that role, you have brought some light and you've helped us all out. You're really going to be a miss. Everyone's going to be missed. There's going to be a lot of history and, seasoned talent that's going to be leaving. But we look forward for those new people coming in to be able to be trained right and add to our family as we grow. So again, thanks, and wishing all of our retirees the best of luck in their future endeavors, that next chapter of their lives. Just don't miss, don't forget about us. Come back and visit. Yeah. And just to thank, I do it all the time, thank everyone for coming out, taking the time out of your busy day. Coming off of a nice weekend yesterday, and today the weather was really nice. I really wanted to just go home and sit on the deck. But thanks for coming out and supporting, good, bad, and different. It's always good to have our community, our teachers here to support. At the end of the day, we are here for, I say it all the time, the babies. We have to set differences aside. Thank you to Ms. Glenn about your comment earlier in terms of facial expressions, because it is. We do that unconsciously, when someone starts to speak or someone makes, so really, I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront for us all to be aware of. So thank you so much for that. Like I said, just thank everyone for their hard work. Having Miss Carol with an E here help us. It's so good to see you back in that seat and helping Dr. E to get things moving and get things situated. Really, really appreciative to that. And, all our directors and administrators, thank you for all the hard work. Our educators, we're here for you. You're here for us. We're here for these babies so that they can move forward. My colleagues, yeah, we agree, we argue, we look at each other, we roll our eyes, but at the end of the day, we hug and move and go on. But that just shows how passionate we are on our issues and being able to talk those through and at this point, move our district forward. So I just want to thank everybody for all the hard work and commitment that we do put in. Dr. E, for your leadership. He says he's not looking at me, but for your leadership and the vision to help us move this district forward. And, that's all we can ask for. Nothing is going to be 100%. We don't know when we're walking in that door or walking down the road, just like we talked about insurance and deductibles. We don't know. Trustee Laster said you can put down as much salt as you want to, and somebody, if that's what they're out to do, they're going to sue. We're in a sue-happy society, unfortunately. Everybody's out for him or herself. But thank you. Moving forward, we have Trustee Laster. You have anything?
I do. Since we are talking about teaching and learning and everything, I want to thank Ms. Garrison for all of her hard work. I was honored to sit on the first row and observe senior awards night, and very inspired. Romulus, people talk a lot about us, but we had some power and some stars in that room. I want to congratulate our valedictorian, Ace Bell. She went up there a lot of times to collect money for scholarships. I'm so sorry, Ace. But I apologize.
Ace.
Fatima Sumball, happy birthday to her today, and she's our salutatorian. The Rotary Club gave out to Caleb Valencia. He went up there a lot of times to collect checks and scholarships for school. The big winner of the night, though, Sasha Elkins, shocked me, $40,000 for scholarship. That was amazing. Of course, the Cersei twins, Elijah and Elisha, for academics and athletics. And then we had Sanaya Hardy Lockhart that received a lot of money. Our top 10 was in the building, and it was just amazing to see, to sit in that auditorium. Like I said, a lot of people talk about Romulus, but we are doing teaching and learning. Kids are in there learning. We have GPAs over 4.0, and we have kids that are receiving their accolades from local businesses, and they're getting their recognition. So thank you so much, and thank you for everybody to come out.
Thank you, Madam
Treasurer
President.
Davis?
I also attended senior night, and I noticed the phrase of the night was "show me the money." They definitely showed out with all the scholarships they collected, and I'm proud of those kids. Congratulations to the REA and RAZA on your new contract. Exciting times. And also congratulations to Local 64 on the new wages. I'd also like to congratulate our early college students because 3 hours ago, they just had their completion ceremony over at Wayne County Community College.
Yeah.
And I'd like to invite everybody to show up tomorrow, 6:30 PM at the high school auditorium. We're having our final music department concert since we have choirs back at Romulus again, middle school, high school. It's going to be a fun night. And, yep, it's choirs. And you might even see a familiar face up there on the podium.
What about the visit to the elementary schools? Or is it the elementary's going to visit?
Oh,
I forgot
so
about that.
Thursday
They will have that.
morning, about 9:30, all of the fifth graders from each building will be taking a trip to Romulus High School and watching the band perform to recruit for our band program.
Awesome. Thank you. Trustee Evans?
I don't have anything.
Thank you. Trustee Kennard?
Okay, I'm going to be brief, and I'm going to say congratulations to all our seniors, all those who receive awards at the award nights. I wasn't there, but, you know, to know the fact that we have students who are as successful as they are, and they're going to be going on to the next chapter in life, representing Romulus Community Schools. And so congratulations to all of them. By the time we come back, we've had a graduation. And so for our graduating class of 23, we want to say congratulations to you. And the theme here in terms of what I say, Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And so congratulations to the class of 23. Also, congratulations to our retirees in regards to Ms. Moore, McCabe, and to Ms. Gutzman, and to Roxanne. Congratulations on your new chapter of your new adventure. Okay, and you're very, very helpful to the board, and we want to thank you for all your services that you have. And I'm not going to reiterate because the president already did, but thank you very much. And I don't know if everybody heard the robocall yesterday from our esteemed superintendent here, who told us that he rehearsed, what, 8 times before he got eight times before he got it right. So I'm like, who is this calling on a Sunday? I mean, my cell phone, the house number, and I'm like, okay, something is in trouble. But I sat there and I listened. I said, this distinguished voice, okay. But one of the things he pointed out was how this board was coming together, and as we're working, and talked about the district and the things that's going on and the things that we've accomplished and things of where we're going in the future. So I want to commend you on that effort. It was not lengthy, but it wasn't too short. It was enough. And so that was good marketing strategy. But one of the things that did come to my mind is that I don't know who's all hearing this. Is it just the people in the district who are district 2000, or are we reaching out? Are we reaching out beyond just the parents in the district, but the community at large? I think we need to find avenues in terms of how we can reach this entire community. If we're not doing that, I'm not sure, and I'm thinking that's probably on your radar. You just haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm quite sure you'll get to it. So those are my comments, and thank you.
Secretary Piles?
Do that. One of those ways is hanging out in Metro's parking lot. I've suggested that a couple times. But, yeah, I'm gonna be snagging them. Right, be careful, because she knows, she knows I'm serious. I joke, but, yes, I know. Yes, congratulations to our graduating seniors. And Mr. Hanson, thank you for giving us our graduation rate, because our graduation rate has been erroneously misunderstated, and our graduation rate has been in the 80% for a while. So, yeah, but 87, I think we're up 2 percentage points. So thank you for coming with that. I did attend the presentation for our 6th grade model, and my biggest takeaway from that was that our students, our 5th grade students, were asking questions, as much or more so than the parents, and they were not inhibited in any way. They were raising their hand, they were asking good questions. And so shout out to all of our middle school staff who was there, but our elementary staff who have taught our elementary students to be active participants in their own education and speak up for themselves and ask questions. And I'll tell you what, it was a hard crowd, because we had all of our central office staff standing and our middle school staff standing around along the room, and our students were raising their hands and they were asking everything and holding us accountable. So kudos to our RCS students. And then one question I did want to bring to the board as far as minutes, because it has come from community member, that our minutes are not posted on our website since March 20th. We've had April 3rd minutes and April 10th minutes that have been approved. So those, and I get the shortages, staff shortages, but we need to know as a board what our protocol is going to be in getting those posted and who's responsible for posting them, because I know the board members, we don't have access to that. And then going forward, I'm going to send the proposed minutes with a watermark to all of the board, superintendent, whoever's working as the executive administrative assistant. We have to have those available within 8 business days from today. I'm going to send that in less time, but that has to be available, and then the ones we approve tonight need to be up within 5 business days.
Thank you for that
So,
update.
well, the problem is my question is, okay, okay, and has she been trained to do that? Because No, she sent them to us. I'm talking about actually posting on the website.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, and I submitted minutes, but they weren't included in our board packet, so we couldn't approve them last week. And so we have a community member now petitioning for my recall. Yes, petitioning for my recall, because minutes aren't posted on the website since March 20th, and the board isn't approving them. But this board knows that I'm submitting them, I'm emailing them, they're not included in board packets. I'll wait for the answer of what our protocol is going to be, but I'd appreciate a response to that.
Thank you for
Yep.
that, so we can make sure. Yeah. So we'll get those caught up and up to date. Like you said, we've been in that little transition here, so we can make sure that those get posted and get them to Roxanne so she can get them posted. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Right. Madam
Queen
VP,
Bee.
do you have anything?
Eagle Nation,
Eagle Nation.
thank you for coming out. Teachers, stay strong, 19 days left. Yeah. 15? Dang. Oh, listen.
They didn't know about the extra days yet.
I'm on Metro time, I'm sorry. 15 days left, finish strong.
All right.
Thank you for everyone who came out tonight. I appreciate you, thank you.
Dr. Edmondson?
Couple of things. First of all, the Teacher Appreciation Luncheon. I thank the board for allowing us to appreciate the entire district. It wasn't just teachers, so thank you for allowing me to do that. I just want to remind the board a couple of things that, we all walked into this perfect storm. You got new board members, you have another new superintendent, you have new central office. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of chaos. There is. Our job is to work through that and be as civil as we can. Yeah, Ms. Glenn was right, what she said, and we also have that problem in email. We shoot emails and, you can't read somebody's intent, but you can really you seem to feel their energy. So I just think we should be a little bit mindful, all of us, in the things that we put on into the things that we send to each other. I have on here, be accountable, own it. And I feel like as long as I've been here, I've owned things that are bad. But I own it. That's my job. Okay, I protect people. But I think we all own it. When you hurt somebody's feelings or you do something that's not good, don't be above telling somebody you're sorry. Okay, it goes a long way. The human spirit, and I said this before, the human spirit responds when you say that, hey, I apologize, or I came off the wrong way, or that wasn't my intent. I just think that we need to own it. We need to own how we treat one another. 2 more things. Take care of yourself health-wise. I had another health scare, but I'm good. I actually I went to the hospital, which was great. Not the hospital, I went to the doctor. I'm in great condition. So I'm very excited about that. But you know what? This wears us out. It wears us all out, whether we agree to it or whether we, you go home, you're sometimes upset with one another, get high blood pressure, just a whole bunch of stuff. The human spirit, I go back to that. We got to be better. Okay? We all have to be better, and I own my stuff, and I'll say I own it when I own it. So let's move forward. Last 2 things, Local 64, we appreciate you. That's it. That's why we did what we did. We appreciate you. And the last thing, I normally don't do this, but I have to acknowledge Councilwoman Virginia Williams, because she has us having Hill Harper as our keynote speaker at the high school. If you don't know who Hill Harper is, just Google him and you'll see who Hill Harper is. And she's single-handedly making certain that he comes here. So I'd like all of ours, as there was another email that's coming out to the staff, we own the students, and I don't mean own, but they're graduating. Give up a Saturday. I sent somebody a text today, we're like, well, that's on a Saturday. So what?
Of course it is.
So what if it's on a Saturday? We have grown some of the students for 12 years. Some of them you haven't seen for 10 years. What a great opportunity to come to the graduation and celebrate the kids and their parents who have given themselves to us
Yep.
for 10 to 15 years or 10 to 12 years. So I hope to see you there June 3rd. I thank everybody for your support, your tremendous support in coming on out here. Stay positive.
My last thing is, our closed session, we are going to have to, I need to just make a motion. I need to amend the agenda to remove that. And
He left?
there was an appointment.
Okay. So again,
We'll have to do that at the next meeting.
so what?
You have
we'll
some
do-
option. We're going to remove that from the agenda, and we'll be in contact with Mr. Brock in terms of getting this particular situation handled.
So we'll make a motion to amend the agenda, and then it will require a two-thirds vote again. So move that the Board of Education amend the approved agenda to remove the closed session with legal counsel.
Support.
Who wants it?
Kennard can have it. We had a motion by Piles, supported by Kennard, to amend the approved agenda to remove our closed session. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Piles, yes. Kennard?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Laster?
Yes.
What's her name? Evans?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn,
Support.
8:53. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Thank you all.
It was Wester and Davis. Everybody wants that.